Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Integot for episode 64 on Sunday, the 12th of December, 2021. In this week's show, we'll be discussing all the big reveals and highlights from the Game Awards in 2021. Which one of us in our convoluted prediction contest won? It's always the king. Boo, and we give our impressions of the long-awaited Halo Infinite campaign.
Shut up! Bigwig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gaming Podcast Audio!
Welcome. I'm Integot, and as always, I'm joined by Mike.
Hello, everybody.
And Swinny.
Hello.
As always, if you want to support the show, jump on bigwigpod.com. It's got all of our links, all the socials, all the live streaming feeds, everything you want. A special Mario reaction that people find amusing. Mostly my craziness of like reacting to Chris Pratt and co. And yeah, we just did a reaction stream, didn't we, Swinny?
Yes, and you can check it out on YouTube. There's a couple of clips there. But not many clips, probably less than we're hoping for. But there's the full stream playback that you can watch on our YouTube channel.
Yes, which got taken down, damn you, WB. I will never support WB, even though I love almost all their properties.
And you can sit there and watch me be grumpy for 3.4 hours.
Yeah. It made
You
me
weren't that grumpy.
Dude, you didn't watch it all. Swinny is the grumpiest bastard.
Really?
I'm like, dude, you're so negative. Like, I couldn't believe it. From the start.
The parts I watched were fine.
This is
Anyway, we'll
bullshit.
get
This is
to
not
our
world
overall
premiere.
thoughts. We'll get to our overall thoughts. It's not actually what you think.
And a little bit of hype. A certain tier list is coming up soon.
Yeah, so I've been talking about this Chemco RPG tier list. You know,
Yes.
this is probably about the 8th time on the show I've mentioned it. I've set a date.
I can only get so hard.
The episode 66, the 26th of December, I'm going to do my Chemco RPG tier
Or,
list.
as we call in the Commonwealth, Her Majesty's Commonwealth, Boxing Day.
Huh.
Check out
that's-
Boxing Day if you're an
That's not a
American.
thing. You made that up. Yeah, so I'm just currently playing through the December release, so I'll have that finished.
Very good.
And I originally remember I talked about doing this as a separate clip because I'm like, no one's going to want me talking about Chemco RPGs for like 40 minutes. It's like, because it's not, there's like over 30 games. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit there talking about them as much as I did Assassin's Creed, but it's still a lot of games to rank. So
Hey, that's still
Yeah,
one of
but-
our most popular tier lists, so that's all right.
I know. I reckon you should do it as part of the show. You'd be surprised. I think a lot of people will tune in.
I think we will lose subscribers from this
That's
tier
fine. We
list.
lose subscribers
Maybe.
for whole loads of reasons.
Yeah.
So I don't
worry
have
about
any
it.
qualms about that.
Like, we don't do this for subscribers, so
No, we
it's fine.
definitely
That's true. That's true. We don't.
because the other thing that I wanted to shout out is that we're doing Game of Some Other Year, and we're doing all the retrospectives in a few weeks. I'm sure, like, you know, Mike has smashed Yoshi's
Oh, yeah.
Island, Donkey Kong Country, Diddy's Conquest,
Absolutely.
Earthbound.
not.
I don't think we're going to probably stay on our current schedule with that. I'm
What
just
are we
putting
going to
out
push it
there.
back?
I'm just saying. I'm
For
pushing,
what
putting
reason?
it out there.
I'm getting through all the games.
I have a feeling.
Mike's never going to
am.
play those games. Let's be real.
No, I will play them.
It's going to come
Anyway.
down to Swinny and I, and then Mike veering the vote a little bit. That's how I say it.
Okay.
It all
That sounds
depends.
fair.
It all depends on the size of the new Assassin's Creed DLC that's rumored to drop in December.
But you
it's
play
one
all
of-
those games.
The
They
biggest
get it.
one, isn't it?
No, so what it is basically there's two rumored DLCs. The huge one, the one you're thinking about, that's dropping around March
Yeah.
apparently, and there's another smaller one which we don't know what it is. Apparently, is dropping this month, and we joked the fact that if they release a DLC like in the last week of the year, it's going to screw me up all the hard
Which
work
would be
I've done.
super funny.
Yes, I do remember that.
So anyway, they're having an announcement on Monday or Tuesday for us.
Okay.
So we'll then find out the facts.
Come on, Yves Guillemot or whatever his name is.
Gimo.
Guillemot. Screw up Swinny. I almost said Squinny. I'm turning it to like what you do with the spoonerisms. And then a quick correction, although this is how crazy technical Swinny and I are. Supposedly corrections can't be of things that was talked about on the stream, but I'll reject
Yeah.
that rule. I'm attacking Swinny right now over here.
Hmm.
So Swinny,
Yeah,
you said that
What do you do
Nintendo
every
doesn't really
time?
show anything off at the Game Awards. And I
No,
said,
I
I don't think that's right. I don't think
I
that's right.
asked the question. I said, have they shown anything except Smash? I didn't know.
Okay. Did you really say that?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I said, have they shown anything other than Smash at the Game Awards?
No, they have. They have. They it was the
Okay.
first place they ever showed, and I think I said this at the time, but I checked it. Breath of the Wild, where they actually showed the gameplay, what the game actually looks like, was the first time at the Game Awards.
Because I didn't know, because I've never watched the full Game Awards until last year for the first time.
So yeah, I just wanted to correct that because I think that's important in terms of how we think of the overall impressions of the Game Awards. And then for the question of the week, before we get into what we've been playing, my question is: you have a Switch, right? You switch up.
3 of them.
Every single game that's ever been created has achievements in it, and they're all linked together. It's like one complete network, right?
Every game ever created.
Yeah, ever created. Arcade games, everything. Switch down, achievements never exist. Which
down.
Which way would you switch the Switch?
Switch down. 100%.
I mean, the switch up idea isn't super appealing to me, but the switch down idea is horrible to me. So I've got to go switch up.
I go switch down as well.
Switch down any day, baby. That's what I love about the Switch. I don't care about that whatsoever.
Yeah, I always
You play the game because you want to play the game.
Yeah.
And if you don't like the game, you don't play it.
Yeah, get rid of high scores and points. You know, that's basically all achievement points are. at the end of
No,
the
it's
day.
way more insidious than that.
It's
way
more insidious,
yeah.
but it's built off the same concept of, oh, I have a high score in this game of Frogger. Can you beat it? You know,
I get what you're saying, but I think it's almost like it takes it to another psychological level for a lot of people.
Look, I keep
companies
saying we
with
need a special segment on achievements. We could
We
talk
do,
about it for
we
a
do.
whole
I
hour.
would not want to do a segment on achievements with you guys.
I'd love to do it.
That's just like running up against the wall and then doing it 3 times.
I don't think I'm like that extreme.
No,
on it,
he's
Swinny.
not
I
that
think
extreme.
Mike's
He's
the
not.
extreme one. I think
I'm
I'm
the
more
extreme
like
one.
in moderation. I'm like the same as
Yeah.
drugs. I've got
If,
no issue if they legalize drugs, but
Yeah.
I would not encourage people to go hard on drugs, right?
If our clip on YouTube, our segment about Zillion reverting achievements is any indication, Mike clearly doesn't understand my points around the concept. So
Oh no, I do. Hey, look, I get it. I totally get it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely get it. I was in that boat too. I used to chase achievements. I'm like on 130, 40,000, whatever it is. They don't just happen overnight. You know what I mean?
Whereas I dumped all my
So-
achievements just to get a new gamer name because I just don't care about it at all. All right, let's jump
That's
into
fair
what
enough.
we've been playing.
right.
Mike, what have you been playing this
All
week?
right. Finally, it's actually been a big week in gaming because you guys know that it's been fairly not so big weeks in gaming for me recently.
I
But
usually
this
hear that
week it's
about you.
actually
It's
been a
not so
proper
big.
big week in gaming. Speaking of big week, look, my beard's so long that I merge into my shirt. Look at me.
It's like beard shirt.
looks like you got a really thin face.
And you got like a red necklace.
And a red necklace. Oh, do I look pretty?
All right, you big week.
All right, so my big week in gaming starts off with Halo Infinite, the campaign, obviously, because that just came out the other day on Game Pass. I'm not going to say any more because we're going to talk
Gonna hype
about
it
it
up,
in more
baby.
detail later. I'm going to hype the hell out. But ooh,
Hype the hell out.
will the guy who is not into Halo actually like Halo for once? I don't know. Let's find out. The other game that I
You didn't wreck
played...
it. Okay. I gotta give. Sorry, I have to interrupt you. I gotta give you props. I feel like every single time you would hype something up, you'd actually give the answer straight away
No,
because you got
I don't know.
ADHD.
I don't know. Maybe I like it. Maybe I don't.
Now you've
No
ruined
idea.
it by pointing it
No,
out. You
I've got-
could
I
have let
wanna-
it flow naturally.
No,
Flow
no. This is called, giving feedback in the moment. I'm a big believer.
That's
in it.
fine. That's fine.
live on a podcast.
Thanks for the feedback. So the next one that I played, not substantially, but I put in quite a bit of time into it. So like at least maybe 2 hours or so, is a game called Grime. Now, Swinny, you probably know about this one.
I do, and I didn't. You've just added it in there. If I'd
Yeah,
known,
so
I
I
would have
slipped
prepared
it
some
in.
B-roll
He
for
slipped
No,
it.
no,
it
that's
in.
fine because I'm not going to talk about it too much.
to
'cause
show-
I might do a proper segment.
To show the
sometime
masses
soon.
how awesome this game is.
It is a fantastic game. We'll talk about it in more detail because I might do a bit of a review and impression in more detail once I finish it. The other game that I've been playing quite a bit of is Everspace 2. Now, Everspace 2 was a bit of a surprise for me. It's still in alpha on Game Pass, but it's pretty solid in saying that. As in, I haven't really encountered any major bugs or anything. I would describe it as a proper space RPG. If you can almost imagine Diablo, but with spaceships, where you go and shoot shit and you get upgrades and you get loot and whatnot, and there's different rarity items and stuff like that. That's kind of it. Gorgeous looking game. Really, really fun, solid arcadey shooter. I played quite a few hours this week of this game actually. For anyone watching on YouTube, that's some B-roll of it. It looks really cool, and plays extremely well, both with controller and mouse and keyboard. I tend to play mostly with mouse and keyboard. It's a shame this isn't on Xbox, because this would be fantastic to play, especially because it's on Game Pass on PC. So for anyone that's got a PC, highly recommend dabbling in this. Pretty cool, fun game.
Oh, wait. Is this one of the rare occasions where there's a PC exclusive Game Pass game?
I reckon it is, yeah. I don't think this... I looked it up and I couldn't find it because I wanted to play it on Xbox, but I couldn't find it.
The first ever Space is, but not this one, apparently.
Yeah, not this. The first ever Space was different. I think that was more like a roguelike from what I spoke to G-Man, if you guys remember G-Man. Yep. He described it as more like a, sort of a roguelike, where you die, repeat, whereas this is just, it's an RPG at its core. Really, really cool. So the next game that I played is, ta-da, Death's Door. So after we talked about it in our predictions for the Game Awards, I'm like, you know what, I should check this game out. I paid full price for it. It was $30, but I'm like, screw it. I actually wouldn't mind a decent Switch game to play.
Oh, you got it on the Switch?
I got it on the Switch.
I'm really keen to hear how you thought it went.
These games feel perfect for the Switch, if you know what I mean. This is the kind of game that I love. Like, for whatever reason, I feel like isometric type of games are just perfect for the Switch. Which is a shame that you can't, get the original Fallout, because apparently they don't have the source code anymore, so they can't port it. It runs pretty well, I have to say. It's obviously at 30, so you're not going to get the 60 FPS that you might get on other platforms, but doesn't hinder the game whatsoever. Really, really fun game. It's described as a Souls-like. Yes, it's got some of those elements, obviously, but it's so broad now, that category, that it's not quite like, for example, there's no poise. You can't really interrupt most enemies, stuff like that. So you just have to time your attacks. Brilliant game, highly recommend it.
Is it more like a Souls-like versus a Souls-like Souls-inspired game?
It's a Souls-like Souls-inspired game that's Souls-like.
This is where we really care about the viewers and the listeners.
The long-time listeners, they're appreciating these jokes.
Maybe Joe gets the joke.
They go back like 40 episodes at this point.
Can I just say, Mike, that because I've been wanting to pick up Death's Door, but I've got another announcement. I've given up. I'm gonna get a Steam Deck when it becomes available in Australia.
Of course. Oh, so dude, I'm gonna jump straight on it.
But dude, it's already altered so many decisions I'm making. Like I've almost pulled the trigger on a few Switch games. And I'm like,
why would you bother when you can get it at 60 FPS on? Yeah,
I'm like, damn, this Steam Deck, it's gonna throw the Switch a little bit for a loop. It's pretty interesting.
And did you get it cheaper, like Grime that we were talking about previously? I got it off I think Kinguin or something like that. I rarely sort of get stuff from there. I usually just get it straight through Steam or whatever other store. But you couldn't beat the price. Like, it was like $10 or something.
But what, you mean activated on Steam, or
you still activate it on Steam?
Oh, so it's one of those ones where they steal people's credit cards and then buy the games and then sell it.
I bloody hope not. Kinguin's meant to be more reputable.
That's literally what they do.
But it's possible.
Where do you think the codes come from?
Which is why I pretty rarely do it that way. Like, I've got probably about 300 or 400 games on Steam, and I reckon 99% of those are from Steam. Like, it's super rare that
I'm having a go at you, but I bought Minecraft for like $3 or something, and then I was thinking, why is it this cheap? I started reading about these reseller sites. I'm like, oh, they just steal people's credit cards and like buy the games. I'm like, okay, I won't do that again.
Maybe I won't do that again.
I'm like, why don't I just steal the game itself?
I'm an ignorant consumer.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't use that as an excuse because I figured that's a possibility.
Back to you.
Right, and the last game that I played, well, actually, I played a bunch of other ones, but the last one that I can say I played a little bit enough of to talk about is the Lego Builder's Journey. Which we talked about, I think maybe 2 episodes ago, something like that. It looked really cool. I thought, man, I love Lego, huge Lego fan. This looks like an interesting little puzzle game. And it's been pretty cool so far. It hasn't, blown me away per se, but I'm loving the story that you go through. I'm relatively early-ish Obviously, there's puzzles. As if whoever's watching the B-roll, you can kind of see that there's certain bits and pieces that require you to think where you're going to put certain pieces and weight them and whatnot. But yeah, it's been really cool experience so far. So it's been a big week for me, a really big week. I don't even know how I managed to cram all of these in.
So it's been a big week in Mike.
Big week in Mike.
Big week.
Integot, what
Big
about
week in
you?
Mike. Is that what his name is? Week. Just on the Lego thing, right? I just wanted to say that my boy got his first Lego for himself from a friend. Like, you know, they do the whole Kris Kringle thing with the kids as well. And he came home and he actually built it. Like all of it.
Awesome.
You know,
Sick. What
4
was
years
it?
old, followed all the instructions one by one. Did it all himself. Like I did
Did he-
not
was this
go,
a
here's
Death
the
Star?
piece. No, it was the Imperial Starship. No. It's just like a Minions one.
He
And it's for
probably-
kids though.
He probably built it better than I built that the Super Mario 64 question block where I kept skipping steps, being like overconfident.
I get nervous that if I get that, he'll want to build it with me, but it's so intricate, right? It's gonna take like 3 days to build it over Christmas. But yeah, no, I just wanted to shout that out. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's
That
awesome,
game looks
yeah.
really
It's
cool.
really
Let me
cool.
know if it does click with you in the end.
Yeah, look, it's still clicking with me per se, just because I played all the other 4 games quite a bit. I don't have as much time to dedicate to it, but otherwise, yeah, I would have gone through the whole game probably
It
in
looks
one
sick.
go.
I love how like so many
very
games have
cool.
that really cool art style. Like just looks really cool. For me, playing Halo Infinite, the campaign. So
What'd
hype
you
that
think of
up.
it?
We'll talk about what I thought. Probably a slightly different view to you because I've played Halo in the past. A little
Yeah,
more.
but this is cool because I want to see the different perspectives.
And yes, I'll just shout this first. Actually, I'll change my own order. We don't have B-roll for this because damn you, WB took down our whole bloody reaction stream for a while. I did play The Matrix Awakens,
Oh,
and like man, that is a next gen game. Like the way it looks. I was actually watching it because I installed it on my PS5 because I thought it'd be better testing it on the PS5 rather than I think it's on PC as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Swinny. Maybe double check that.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's only
It's
PS5.
only on it's only on PS5. So apparently there's a version that Unreal Engine devs have available to, but it's not for the public. So
Yeah, because you definitely would be able to have it on PC. That's where they would develop it. But
So
okay.
I can't remember if was a reason why, but it's only on PS5 and Xbox.
Probably also to
Series.
show. Is it on Xbox as well?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, really? I thought it was only PS5. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I tried that out and
Sorry, Digital Foundry did a whole comparison between the two platforms.
cool.
yeah.
I didn't know that. So I had it running and I put the controller down because I was doing a few things and I was watching it and then I realized it's not like I'm not watching a movie. It's actually gameplay that it's asking me to like shoot the tires of these cars and stuff. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, man, this like I know that people will say this every generation where it's like, how can graphics get better than this? But
oh, they can.
but dude, you gotta
I mean, look at the
play
simulation
this.
we live in. So
No, play it, man. It looks nuts. It's
No, I
like,
will. I want to.
damn,
I
it
s- I
looks
saw-
really cool.
bits and pieces of it.
Yeah,
And
it's
looks pretty shrink.
pretty hectic. I
I'd
can't
love
wait
to play it on a CRT though, because then you get that proper you get the proper aliasing or anti-aliasing. You get that real. Wow, this looks like a freaking film because you don't see the stuff as much. So chuck it on your TV.
Okay.
see what it looks like.
I haven't played this, but I've watched a good lot of like what it is and everything, and also like when they showcase the tech, the Unreal
Yeah.
Engine 5 tech, and what they're doing with the procedural generation tools to like generate a lot of the architecture using blocks that they've done and then tweaking. Now, not saying that's a brand new thing, but it's kind of wild to do it at this scale with that level of fidelity. It looks like from the video, again, I haven't played it, but it looks absolutely phenomenal. But there's also there is an uncanny valleyness to the people a bit. Like, thankfully, most of them are wearing sunglasses, so you don't get. Usually, the eyes is what causes the uncanny valley. But I know that in the part where they're actually like where Keanu in the video that we unfortunately had to cut, he's talking and then he transitions to like a younger version of himself that it's like running on Unreal Engine 5. There is, I think, that part where we're getting so close to like it looking photorealistic that it is that barrier for me. But I might give it a try. I know apparently it's a time limited thing. I don't think it's going to be around.
Oh, you should try it then. Yeah,
So I gotta try it. Yeah,
dude,
I'll do
it's
it
like
after this.
15, 20 minutes max that you really can pretty much see
Okay.
everything. I get what you're saying. I think to be fair though, seeing it on YouTube versus actually playing it, there is a bit of a compression and all this other kind of stuff that does takes a bit of the edge. I do get what you're saying though, because when it went from like old Keanu to young Keanu, it's like, okay, this looks better than Grand Admiral Hoff in Rogue One, but still a bit rare, like not quite right. But I did find when you get into the city scene and you can fly as a drone, I was just going to like apartments in random places on the buildings, and it's like fully furnished and decked out, slightly different in every apartment. I'm like, I know this is all procedural, but it looks nuts. Like, and I was like going, wow, like I can't wait till there's a game where you can just go anywhere, go inside buildings. Everything's all generated. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that would be like truly insane. So it's well worth checking out if you want to check it out. It's been kind of like cool in the last few months, or like last month, I guess, because we had the Radiohead Kid A Amnesia sort of like experience thing, and then we've had this, and they're all free. It's really cool. And then the last one for me that I've been playing as part of Game of Some Other Year, and this is the first playthrough that I've had of this gem, is Chrono Trigger, and I am playing it on the DS, Swinny.
Oh, cool.
So I've heard that that's the best version of it. I wanted to play so stupid. I wanted to play it on my analog, but my setup's all screwed up at the moment, so I need to move my CRT, which I will do. And also, like, we'll talk about it soon, but hopefully I'll get the Analogue Pocket shortly, and they'll be able to, like, I guess I'll play Earthbound on that, because there was a Game Boy Advance version of Earthbound, so
I'm just looking at the B-roll now that we've got, and just seeing the Square logo without the Enix part just is like hits me in the feels.
That's how like old we are, dude. We remember when it was Square and then Enix was a separate company. It's like, Jesus. People, can't even imagine that. But yeah, look, like I don't want to spoil what I'm going to say about Chrono Trigger, but like I'm into it. Like I'm getting through it. I've parked Astral Chain. I want to get through all these other games. So, and not because Astral Chain wasn't good, I will jump back to that. And Swinny, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing a whole bunch of games, lots of random games for a very short amount of time because of the 12 days of True Achievements Christmas, which I mentioned last week. All I'll say is that I believe, let me just check. I think the last day of the challenges has been announced. I'm literally checking it live. Oh no, it's a Leapfrog challenge. Okay, so I was going to say this year has been easy until I just read this now. So,
what's this one?
Leapfrog.
By the way, do you want to? I don't know. Does everyone
explain
know
what this is?
Explain what it is, because it's pretty cool.
Uber nerds know this.
So basically, there's 12 days of challenges. I mentioned a little bit last week, and I did a whole segment last year on it, but where it gets increasingly harder because you unlock one achievement, then 2 achievements at 3, 4, up until 12 days. But they're all themed. For instance, one of the challenges this week was you have to unlock, like, I think it's like 10 achievements that start with the word "the." Things like that. You know, you have to spell out the word Yuletide, you know, with achievement letters. Cool stuff like that. This Leapfrog means you have to unlock an achievement that is harder than the last one in order. So
monotonically increasing.
So you've got, but the reason why it's tough is because you can screw yourself by accidentally unlocking a hard achievement that you weren't expecting, and then you just like, so you got to plan it out. Anyway, so I've been playing lots of random games for that. One of those is actually talking about Halo Infinite. You know, I'm up with the times. I've been playing some Halo Master Chief Collection this week.
Can I call out this bitch right now? Because I bought that on Steam to play co-op with Swinny, and we played like one to be fair, start of Halo 1, and then we never got back to it.
Oh, no, that's on you.
What do you mean that's on me? I want to play. What the fuck?
That's full story. I'm just saying it's on you. Just to piss you off.
Jerry.
So what I've kind of just wanted to just give a lot of credit to 343 Industries because what they did, I should say, because obviously the game's kind of done at this point, is kind of wild when you jump around the actual menus. Because we played a little bit of co-op for Halo 1. I didn't actually sit there and going around the fact that you load up the different forge modes for each of the different versions of the games and stuff. And so what I've been doing is basically just getting lots of easy achievements, honestly, for my challenges, but I've actually got to experience what the Master Chief Collection was outside of, you can play the campaigns of the games, you know, just being able to like apply all the different skulls to all the different campaigns and the custom games. It's just wild. So another game I've been playing that is kind of becoming like a holiday game for me, as well as that Max Curse of the Brotherhood I talked about last week, is Human Fall Flat. I actually played it a lot more than I have normally, and I actually went through quite a bit of the game this week. That game's fun. It's, you know, obviously it's like a physics-based like puzzle platformer game, but it's just the kind of game you like, man. There's just some ingenious ideas here, you know. So
it's
also,
like a Die Hard for Christmas in game form.
This is the continuation of the
Christmas?
Die Hard references and
the joke that I'm not going to acknowledge
I'm not
each
trying to
time you
make it.
say
I'm
it.
not trying to make a joke.
It's not a joke.
I'm legit asking, is this something you do every Christmas the way I watch Die Hard?
This game just came out.
But the whole thing is I said it's a Christmas game. But no, Human Fall Flat didn't just come out. That's
I'm saying on Game Pass. That's
Yeah,
why you're playing it, right?
Yeah, it was out it was out last year. So I was
Game
playing
Pass?
Christmas time last year. Yeah. So it's been in Game Pass for over a year.
Right, okay. Pardon me. I thought
anyway-
it was something you've been doing for 5 years or something.
No, it started. Anyway, the other game I've been playing, but actually lines up with our Game of Month here, is Full Throttle. So
yeah.
I'll talk a bit more about that because I've only played through the first initial part of the game.
I'm up to the dog part and I'm stuck.
Yeah, so just playing a bit more of that. And the last thing I've been playing, but I'm reviewing it later, is a very unexpected surprise, which is Cave Story's Secret Santa. So for anybody that knows Cave Story, I'll explain a little bit about it later. There was a free game that dropped this week, and it's a very limited game. So I'll talk about that a bit later.
Yeah, and that game's like,
Looking forward to
the
it.
source game is like, what, 15 years old or something?
2004.
Yeah, damn, I'm almost on the money. 17, right?
Yep.
All right, let's get into our first headliner, which was the Game Awards.
Look at him. He's already gloating and smiling.
It was a crazy night of emotions at the 2021 Game Awards, from the Game Award winners to the results of our Bigwig prediction contest. So who came out on top? You'll find out shortly. But first, overall thoughts. Swinny, we watched all of it. We reacted to it. We had our ups and downs, more downs for you. What did you think of it overall? Just the overall.
No, there was no real downs. I just need to give shit to anyone that's like, this is a world premiere of a game that's already out. They had a world premiere for Chivalry 2. That is a game that was nominated for an award, right? I'll talk about that a little bit later because I've got a bit of a rant. But aside from that, I actually had a blast. I actually thought it was a really fun show. I thought it was disappointing, actually quite disappointing from a reveal standpoint. But as an actual show, I think it was paced very well. And we'll get into some of the winners and stuff. And I think overall it was a fun watch.
Yeah, look, so I watched it with Mike last year and it was fun. That's why I was willing to do it again this year. Last year we didn't have to take a day off. I don't know why. It was either weird timing. So it was at night for us, I think. Or we either like watched it on delay, Mike. I think we watched it on delay. I think, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that was what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. But it was like work, so I didn't actually watch it. It's probably not the worst idea, Swinny, actually just to watch it on delay. Like maybe we'll do that. But it was actually cool to have the day off, just watch it, just relax. Like it was a weird day off. It was the weirdest day off I've ever had, to be fair. But it was a cool experience. In terms of like, look, the biggest thing for me is I don't get hyped for these things in terms of like expecting huge announcements, but reading back what Jeff Keighley said, and I was kind of on media blackout leading up to it, man, the guy, like, talk about the overhype. Like, I could not believe, I read this article where he was like, it's going to have 4 to 5 reveals of the size of Elden Ring as like a reveal. I'm like, dude, so my standard is, okay, it's going to be in the most anticipated game next year. Like, because, you know, it's that level. Like, so it's going to almost feel that whole category. And, you know, we'll talk about, like, what the reveals were, but I don't think any of them meet that Elden Ring caliber. So I can understand why a lot of people were really pissed off. Like, I was shocked at how much they were pissed off. Because, yeah, they didn't have a huge amount of reveals. But as with you, Swinny, I felt like the show flowed really well. Like, it was not boring. Like, it just kind of kept on going. I think last year's one, there was a lot of boring parts where Mike and I were like, oh my God, this is just dragging on. Like, they were much better this year at that kind of stuff. So, and how about you, Mike? You sort of watched bits and pieces, watched our stream.
Yeah, I watched a bit of your stream. I happened to have to work while you guys were doing what you were doing.
Well, you know, you're the famous one who says you don't live to work, right?
No, but I don't live to work, but I still, have responsibilities, unfortunately,
Well, I
and
have
we had
extreme
some
responsibilities,
shit hit
but
the
you know,
fan. So
gotta,
I know
He's-
you probably have more responsibilities than I
He's
do.
very time poor. Okay,
But-
don't argue with
yeah,
him.
exactly.
What? I am.
He
I
has
have a lot of things
100
outside
hours
of,
a week, and I've
outside
got
of gaming that I have
168.
to do. So yeah, no, the parts that you guys were doing, I actually thought were really good, just in terms of what we did as Big Week. But the overall, I was surprised at some of the winners, but I was really happy with some of the new stuff that they showed, or at least some of the new trailers that they showed for stuff that we already knew that was coming out. So I personally quite liked it. I think there was a lot of stuff in there that I'm looking forward to now. So
Yeah, nice. So we
Yeah.
had 15 categories that we voted on. Swinny, do you want to go through like what the winners were of those categories? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, so let's just like, separate from our prediction
Yeah.
stuff, just the actual inform people of the winners of those 15 categories. There were more categories, but we'll just focus on these ones.
These are ones that matter. Let's be real.
Yeah. So for best action game was Returnal. We had best action adventure as Metroid Dread. Best role-playing game is Tales of Arise, which is awesome. Best fighting game, Guilty Gear Strive. Best family game, It Takes Two. Best indie game, Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Best multiplayer game, It Takes Two. Best ongoing game was Final Fantasy XIV Online. Best narrative was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Best art direction was Deathloop. Best audio design was Forza Horizon 5. Best score and music was Near Replicant version 1.22474487139 ... Most anticipated game was Elden Ring. Best game direction was It Takes Two. And lastly, game of the year was also It Takes Two. So they're the 5 big winners.
You know, when you look at the whole list, you go, like apart from the family game, that is ridiculous that It Takes Two was nominated for family game with the theme it has and what you do in that game, the ending of that game. I don't know like quite exactly what the ending is, but I know enough that it's definitely not a family game. It's quite shocking it was even nominated. And then the fact that they voted to make it win is just, I feel like it's almost like they probably didn't have a strong standout outside of that. That's the only one that seemed weird to me. But when you look at all of them, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. None of it seems really that weird.
Yeah, I think, look, they're all very worthy of winning. There's none that you go, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, I made a snide comment last week about Nier, but I mean, Nier has an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
I was just a little salty because suddenly the first Nier game is like, everyone realizes how good it is. And yeah, it's just one of those things you like, yeah, you didn't give it credit back when it came out. But in saying that, Nier Automata also won Game of the Year. Best score of the year that came out. So that's
Is it
not
Automata
surprising.
or Automata? I don't even know.
Whatever.
Oh, okay.
I say Automata, but that's probably the other way. Knowing
So
me.
although Deathloop had a bunch load of nominations in terms of multiple category winners, It Takes Two took the most, which was 4, which, we ran through most of those. Forza Horizon 5, awesome to see it getting its due, with 3, Kenna 2, and then Final Fantasy 14 Online with 2 as well. Yeah, it was really weird in the show, wasn't it, Swinny? How I was like, all these ads, 1,000 world premieres, and then sometimes they'll go, oh, Forza Horizon wins, innovation and accessibility. Oh, and by the way, it also won best sports racing. I'm like, what?
Yeah, so they
Like,
did
that was
that.
amazing when that happened.
They did that with Kenna Bridge of Spirits because I didn't even realize that there was not only best indie, but it was also best independent debut. There were 2 categories,
Oh yeah,
and they announced it at the
you didn't
same
have that
time.
category. You didn't have that category.
Yeah, so they announced that it won both at the same time. You're like, well, I understand the difference between 2 categories, but at that point, it just felt a bit redundant.
Yeah, I
and
think
for
that's a
us
bit of a
trying to-
redundant category, to be honest, because there's so many, brand new studios that are popping up from very well established devs. So I feel like that's going to happen more and more so in the future.
Yeah. But yeah, look, I'd say that when we talked about the multiple winners there, just to be clear, that includes categories we didn't mention in those 15. So, something like best community support for Final Fantasy XIV Online, So,
Yeah. So I think from experience, we're probably just going to predict everything. If we watch the show next year, we might as well just predict everything.
I hope so because I got all the ones.
Dude,
Oh.
Mike, I know
I
you
got
tuned in
most
a
of
little
them
bit.
right.
but he dominated. It was crazy. It was like League of Legends, and there was like some random streamers or whatever. Oh, Arceus, he's gonna win, and it's like Arceus.
It was basically like all the esports categories. I'm like, oh, they'll win. Okay, they won. They win. It
Genuinely
was
got
like we're not
7 to
scoring
8 out of 10. Like correct. It's like ridiculous. So we'll get into.
To be clear, they were just random guesses, most of those, you know. So it wasn't like I was like actually knowing the answers.
And we'll quickly get into. So I guess we should talk about the scoring. So we did 15 categories. We had predictions. None of our predictions came true. We had half points for the prediction. So
well, they're worth 1 point.
Yeah, well, like, and that
point,
what ended up happening, even though we named the whole episode half point, even though we didn't even have half points, we had 3 points, 3 predictions each, and none of us popped any of those. And then I got 1 point because it was like a Final Fantasy reference, basically. And then Mike got like any fantasy game at all, and he got a point for that. So
I think we gave him that for I think it was Nightingale.
Yeah.
So awesome. Was that
very much
a pity number just because you felt sorry?
And you got Final Fantasy because they announced Epic Games Store port of Final Fantasy VII remake.
And we went back to the tape. We actually went back to exactly what I said, and Swinny heard it and he adjudicated it. So and then for the 15 categories, 13 of them we gave 1 point. For most anticipated, we all agreed it should be 2 points. And then for Game of the Year, we gave 5 points. Very controversially.
I never agreed to that. Super controversially, because I never agreed to it.
So what did you predict when that happened?
Whatever.
When I said we're gonna have 5 points for Game of the Year?
Oh, I predicted that you're gonna either Swinny or I would be ahead, and then you'll pull an ace out of your butt and win at the end, and that's exactly what happened.
Just from that category alone.
Just from that, yeah. That's why I thought it was unfair. It's way too many points.
I think
he's sly. He knew this was going to happen.
To give everyone a kind of
By the way, I'm slowing down to 300. But
So it's going to be a bit choppy.
So I'll just clarify. The situation was, Integot was on 4 points, I believe. Mike was on 7, and I was on 6. I couldn't win because Mike and I had both chosen Deathloop as Game of the Year. Game of the Year being worth 5 points all came down to, is Integot going to get it right or not? Because if he does, those 5 points will take him from all the way behind to up front. And I've got to give you credit. You predicted Game of the Year, so you won the show.
And you know, like, to be fair to myself, I was adamant all the time that It Takes Two was going to win Game of the Year. I said that back when it released. I'm like, oh, this is going to win Game of the Year.
I think that's fair enough. Yeah.
So
it's kind of
Do we want to live the moment? Do we want to live the moment? Do we want to bring it?
Let's just do it.
I'll see if I can bring it up quickly. So you guys stall for me for a second.
Yeah, let's just go through the disappointment again.
I'm just going to want to say, so in terms of actually like getting predictions right or wrong, I'm really happy because I actually got 6 out of the 15, which sounds low, but is actually like, I think Mike, you got 5 and
I got 7
4
at the end.
No.
Oh, all right. In terms of proper predictions.
Did you predict the winner of the category or not? But when you look back last year, out of 10 categories we predicted, Integot's got 7 right last year. Wow. So you've like,
damn, that was crazy.
Like you killed it last year, but you got 4 this
could
year.
all sleep with Jeff.
All right, do we want to watch it?
All right,
tell me.
Reluctantly, yes.
Oh, this looks really weird with the double.
Hey, you're wearing exactly the same thing.
No, I'm not. I'm wearing a different hat.
Yeah,
I'm wearing a different hat. I made sure to wear a different hat.
All right, tell me if you can hear it. I never
wear the same hat twice in a row for us.
That's fair point.
Because we're going to hear ourselves twice, so...
And also it's a different T-shirt.
Yeah, true.
Finally, congratulations to all of tonight's nominees. Awesome. All pretty incredible games.
Here we go.
And the
I was genuinely excited at this moment.
I can't win, so...
It takes...
Yeah!
He blew out his, like, mics. Like, audio gating or whatever it is.
Yeah, because
he's more excited than the guy who is taking the award. I reckon.
It was his Faris pop-off.
Wait.
That guy's jacked. He works out.
That's the commentary.
That was funny. That made me laugh so hard. Because I felt like it was destiny that would happen, where I'd be like so far down.
Oh yeah,
and not win from cheating.
So the learnings from me, the learnings from me after this exercise this year, is if we do something similar for next Game Awards.
Yeah.
First of all, I've got to pay attention to you assigning a random category 2 points, right?
Yeah.
Second is that we've got to like stop any bullshit of those 1.5 pointers. Like any new fantasy game was just a load of crock of shit.
Hey,
So
you think that's bullshit? I think this guy making the rules, and like not, we're both like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's what we need to stop.
but he still had to
It's
actually.
rich white people like him
Rich
making
white
all the
people.
bloody rules.
He still had to get the game of the year prediction right, which he did, right? Whereas any new fantasy game, like, there's always going to be a new fantasy game announced because fantasy is such a broad concept.
Yeah, I think as well.
That's a bit unfair as well. But
we should do every category. Game of the year should be maybe 3 points.
Yeah, I think it should be 3, 2, 1. That seems a bit more.
Yeah, I think that's
it's harder
realistic.
to then just steal the entire thing just because of one guess.
Yeah, and we need to be stricter with the predictions. But yeah, it was fun to watch. It made it extra fun
it was cool.
having things on the line. So
It was good fun. It was good.
yeah,
You guys were very engaging. So
Oh, really?
I had
Well,
it running.
thank you.
Yeah, I thought you guys were really really
Well,
good.
why don't we
Yeah.
jump into some of the reveals? Do we want to do that?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, beautiful. In news that I was extremely excited about, one of the biggest surprises of the Game Awards was the reveal of Remedy's long-awaited sequel to Alan Wake, Alan Wake 2, coming in 2023 to PC, Epic Game Store, PS5, and Xbox Series consoles. The announcement follows this year's Alan Wake Remastered. This will be Remedy's first foray into survival horror, pivoting from an action-adventure thriller. Will be built on Remedy's North Light engine, and Matthew Peretta is returning as the voice of Alan Wake, which actually, so just on that, that is actually what tipped me off because I wasn't paying attention to the trailer. I was doing something on the stream, and then as it was happening, I was talking to you, Swinny, and I'm like, oh, that's Alan Wake's voice, right?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing before you said it. I'm like, oh.
And I'm like, oh, this must be Alan Wake too.
I've seen a lot of people react to this, and everyone's like, "Is that Jake Gyllenhaal?" To the trailer.
Now, like, so I'm fascinated to see how close this will be to my version of Alan Wake 2. Like, if
You're
there's
a
any
160
parallels,
pitch.
I'm going to claim that so much.
Did you? I can't remember in your pitch if you talked about it being much more like horror based or not, or
Nah,
I think yours was
definitely
more about the plot and didn't really go into anything beyond that.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. But, like, I felt the game, I remember saying with Alan Wake 1, when I did a retrospective on it, because I only played it last year or this year, recently at least, and I felt like definitely it was like a horror game. Like there was massive horror elements to it.
Totally.
So I was really glad to see Sam Lake, who created the game and directed it, saying, oh, there's definitely horror elements in the first one, but this will be our take on the survival horror genre. I'm like,
Cool.
this game's going to scare the shit out of me because the first one scared
so.
the shit out of me.
Really?
Yeah,
Damn.
we'll get to this when we talk about Slitterhead in a little bit, but
Yeah.
people's concept of horror and video games is horribly misguided. Like,
What do you mean?
Horror is a theme, it's a genre. It's not a gameplay element. So that's why I really like that they're clarifying it's a survival horror game, because we all have an idea of what that entails as opposed to its themes are horror and it's got
That's
like jump
true.
scares and stuff,
Yeah, and I was glad that he actually mentioned that the first game had like horror elements to it, which I definitely like. I always got annoyed when people are like, "Oh, it's not a horror game," or "There's no horror in it." I'm like, well, I don't know what
It's
horror
definitely
is
got
or
horror
horror
in it.
themes. If it doesn't, it definitely has that. So, yeah, I'm like super pumped about this. It was quite interesting when Jeff was talking about it, and he sort of, I think, kind of like let it slip that Sam Lake, this is like the #1 game he's wanted to make for a long time. So
cool.
that's pretty interesting. So
you did your retrospective review in November last year, actually.
it was last year.
Wow.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah.
I
That was
am,
before we even had face cams. So.
Oh damn, that's back in the day.
It's cool to see the face of Max Payne in the B-roll, by the way. Although, ironically, if you guys have played because I played all the Max Paynes, if you played Max Payne 3, I look more like Max Payne now.
Yeah.
Sans the bald head. But I could do
So
that
are
next
you
as
looking
well.
forward to this as well, Mike?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I loved Max Payne back on the 360. This was Max Payne. Alan
I
Wake.
thought you were joking. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I loved Alan Wake back on the 360, so yeah.
Yeah. How about you,
Definitely
Swinny? Are
looking
you
forward
going
to
to
this.
jump in on day one on this, or?
He's too scared.
No, so Alan Wake.
Okay, Swinny. What kind of? This is so far away. Can we just like set this up? what does the channel need to do?
Can you let me actually finish answering the question?
I don't want you to say no, you're not going to play it before I even make a bet with you. What do we need to do for you to play this game?
First of all, I haven't said anything about it yet. So let me finish answering that question before your stupid question. I haven't finished the first Alan Wake, so I'd like to play through that before I ever play a sequel. That's all.
But would you play this, given that it's a survival horror game?
I don't know if I'll ever play through the first one. So the thing is, like, if I'm going to play through this, I'll see how much I enjoyed the first one. The thing is, like, I'm not against playing horror games. It's just there's certain games that I'm like, I don't want to touch that. A game like Outlast we talked about. I know that's a game I don't want to play. Doesn't appeal to me. I'm not going to enjoy it, right? And look, a lot of horror games will fall in that bucket, but there's also a lot that's like, you know, again, we'll talk about Slitterhead later, where it's like, depending on the style of how they implement it, you know, it's probably going to be up my alley. So it's just I haven't finished Alan Wake 1, so that's all.
No, it's really cool. And did you guys want to mention anything else about this game, or?
So there's an interview with Sam Lake. So I don't know. Did you mention who Sam Lake was before?
I just said that that he directed the first game, but he's Remedy's key guy, really.
Yeah, so he's actually, it's an interview with IGN, goes through about 10 minutes, and it's actually pretty good. He doesn't divulge a lot of information about the game, like in terms of systems and stuff, but it's pretty cool if you're a fan and I guess, you know, interested to hear about him talk about the fact that, you know, they had a prototype for Alan Wake 2. And this game is, and there's footage, and they show the footage, so that's something that's not new, but they, I think it's Ryan McCaffrey, I think, from IGN was interviewed.
He's my favorite person at IGN.
So
he's really good.
He asked the question: is this how close is this to your original vision for the sorry, I was about to say Max Effect, but Alan Wake 2. It's Mike. It's Mike. I blame that. And he said, it's very different. It's really like, with the passage of time, they had the benefit of, on reflection, seeing we can do this in a different way that is going to tie the narrative and gameplay a lot closer together of what they want. So check out that interview. I think it's really, really cool. Just don't expect much more details about the game itself. So
I think Max Payne's got to be an early front runner for the show title, but that's interesting about Alan Wake 2. I noticed that little eye roll there, Swinny. Because the first game had a weird prototype, then they dumped. So it had a day-night cycle, all this kind of stuff for the first game. And then they were just like, could not get the game working. So they were like, okay, we're just going to make it linear, right? But the fact that they actually had the whole engine and the day-night, like, all built, Sam Lake felt that it gave more realism to the game, because like the position of everything was really thought through, because it was going to be like an open world game, like on a very small set. I remember that, yeah. So like, and it really does feel like that when you play the game. It feels very tight, like it lived in, like real, and just like where things are placed are very logical, which is not normal for a lot of games, to be honest. It feels like corridors all connecting to each other. So yeah, I'm super pumped about this game. Hopefully it comes early 2023, but it's probably going to be at the end of that year. But I'm glad that there's going to be some cool games in 2023. All right, let's move on to another big announcement at the show, which was Star Wars Eclipse. So inarguably the most visually impressive trailer of the show, Star Wars Eclipse, was announced. So developed by Quantic Dream, so that's Heavy Rain, Detroit Become Human, and the revived Lucasfilm Games brand. It's still in early development. It will be an action adventure, multiple character branching narrative game. And from their website, quote, see the galaxy through the eyes of an ensemble cast of multiple charismatic playable characters, each with their own morality, personality, motivations, and impact upon each other and the story at large. So the game is going to be set in the High Republic era, which is about 200 years before the Skywalker saga. And the Star Wars The Acolyte Disney Plus TV series currently in production is set during the final days of the High Republic era. Swinny, when you saw this trailer, were you excited?
It felt very un-Star Wars-like for most of it, until they obviously started showing some stuff from, like, you know, the droids and obviously like the aliens that's on the screen at the moment for people watching on YouTube. But I think it was great, and I'm the one that wrote the line, arguably the most visually impressive trailer. I thought it was an absolutely gorgeous trailer. Quantic Dream have always been very good with their visuals, no doubt. I've been a fan. I was a big fan of Indigo Prophecy. I can't remember the other alternate title for that game, but that's the game that put them on the map. Fahrenheit, that's right. Put them on the map. But because I kind of didn't really have a PS3 or PS4, a lot of the games since then have kind of, I missed out on, obviously Heavy Rain and all that, Beyond Two Souls, I think it's called, stuff like that. But Mike, I know you're very familiar with many of those games.
Yeah, played them all, love them.
So how do you feel about this, Mike?
Pretty cool. I mean, look, I'm mixed feelings about Star Wars. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but all the Star Wars games that I played have been pretty solid games, including the latest one. So yeah, and the trailer looked amazing. So actually looking forward to playing this one whenever it comes out.
It's funny you say about the games, because I'm kind of looking at it going, I feel like there's maybe more games that I think are better than the movies. Like when I start telling them up, like Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, TIE Fighter back in the day.
Like, that's so sad, man.
But it's also, there's so many
Force
Star Wars
Unleashed.
games, so it's a bit of an unfair comparison, I think.
True. Yeah, and
But
if you went
there's
by
a
the
lot of
average
decent
quality,
ones. It's not. I feel like there's not that many. It's not one of those things where they just took the IP and just flogged it to death and just kept pumping out all this crap. There's actually like Knights of the Old Republic. There's a lot of really, really decent games with that from this IP. So I think they'll hopefully do it justice. So it's a good studio in terms of.
I was just saying, there were rumors about this. So this actually did get leaked. We didn't know the title, but it's been interesting to see the internet's response to this, because Quantic Dream and David Cage from Quantic Dream is very divisive. And the style of their games and the style of their writing, everything I've ever seen, I've enjoyed. As I said, like, even though Indigo Prophecy, it was a little wonky, like, I actually appreciated the writing in that. But it is interesting to see the internet's reaction to this. It's very much like, oh, this looks cool. Oh, but it's by them, So it's unfortunate.
I mean, as someone who's played through their games and as someone who enjoys those kind of games for what they are, they're not the kind of games that I'm like, oh, just really, I don't know. There's some replayability because of choices and stuff like that, but really, it's almost like an interactive movie to some extent. But I like that as a thing amongst all the other different types of games that you play. So I don't really get the negative stigma, negativity around the studio, other than, they had some issues, I think a couple of years ago or something. But in terms of as the games they always produce really good quality games that in their own right were very unique and really cool and graphically amazing for whatever platform they came on.
So as the biggest Star Wars fan on the panel by probably a distance, I've been really sick of Star Wars. I feel like, the new sequel trilogy, like, I really like Force Awakens a lot. I still like that movie a lot. But for me, it just completely fell apart. Mostly because they didn't know what they were doing. They were just making each movie one after the other without any, foresight to go, what is the arc even? The rough sketch of how these movies are going to go. Like, it's just unbelievable that they did that.
And them dumping, like, the ideas they did have,
Yeah,
and
well,
It's
but
so weird for such a big IP.
yeah, which is just ridiculous. They didn't have a show, like a showrunner, effectively, like for the whole thing. Like, even a writer to go, look, this is the vision for the trilogy. Like, we're going to stick to it. Especially after the first movie did really well. Anyway, but so I've been kind of like a bit burnt on Star Wars. I've been a bit over it. I haven't been following almost anything Star Wars. And then The Mandalorian came out. They've cancelled, it feels like, almost all their movies. And like, I'm really into The Mandalorian. I think it's awesome. And then this game, and I feel like, they've done a smart job of like putting the foot off the gas with Star Wars, trying to release high quality stuff. And this looks awesome. Like, actually, Swinny, I don't know when is this coming out? This is just early, right? So this is probably 23, 24.
Yeah, they really clarified it's very early.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, similar to probably look, I don't know about Wonder Woman, but I have a feeling that's also very early.
Oh yeah, that's super early. Yeah,
it's like, I think these reveals, and we'll talk about Wonder Woman a little bit, but I think we need to keep their expectations that these are probably 2024 games.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Especially because they gave no date.
Or late 2023, you know. So
Yeah, at the absolute earliest. Although
Well,
they spit out more games more often, don't they? Quantic Dreams. If you actually look at their lineage, it's like every 3 years ish.
well, I'd be interested to see when Detroit
No,
came out
it's
because I
been on
believe
that.
that's their last release.
That is their last. Yeah, that was a while back actually. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think my general rule is if they don't give you a date, that means it's got to be at least 2 years ahead.
Yeah, 2 to 3.
Because
right?
usually
Yeah.
they go, okay, it's coming next year or coming 2 years after or something. But if there's no date, then okay, like 2+, easy.
So,
Yeah.
Detroit Become Human was 2018 release.
Yeah.
And
3 years
Beyond Two Souls was 2013, so it was 5 years in between those two games.
Yeah.
There was 3 years in between Heavy Rain and that one, so it's like 3 to 5
Right.
years seems like the gap between their development cycle.
And then you just have to add an extra year for Disney because they're
Mhm.
notorious for like the back and forth that they do with people. Can we have
we can't
this
have
Jedi
this.
in this
We need this
outfit?
guy.
No, that's against the law or whatever. Yeah. I'm hyped about this game. This looks really cool. Looking
does.
forward to it. I'm definitely going to play this. This is like just a game that's going to be on my radar to go, okay, I got to play it. So,
A couple of quick things
Yeah.
before you move on to the next segment. Highly recommend Fallen Order.
you're just talking
the
about general Star Wars
latest-
stuff now.
Just general Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
But if you want, if you want to hype yourself back into the Star Wars thing, that was a very solid game. It wasn't, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't mind blowing or anything like that, but it was solid. Really good mechanics, great abilities. I hate to use this word again, but very slightly Souls-like
no,
in terms of the combat and stuff.
Metroidvania?
But it was no. Well, yeah, okay, yes, it was a bit of that too, actually, because you get different abilities and you got to go back to previous planets.
I would say Fallen Order is a time where
It
a
is.
Metroidvania Metroidvania actually fits
It literally
the bill.
is probably
joking 'cause I
the
know
perfect
that about
hybrid
it.
between the two.
I know.
But I
I'm
highly
just teasing.
recommend it. I played through it, loved it. And the
I'm gonna
second
play it,
thing
I'm gonna play
is, I know you're a much bigger Star Wars fan, but you're also a Lego fan. I have.
really.
You've seen have you seen the Lego I don't even know what they're officially called, the Lego art ones. They've got the Beatles, they've got the
Yeah.
oh gosh, there's a whole bunch of different series now, and it's just the Lego dots, and you make them in little small ones, and then you clip them all together and you get a painting. Well, you get a picture. The Star Wars one, which each set you can make 3 different things out of the set, so you get enough parts to be able to make either Darth Vader or Darth Maul, or there's a third one. I forget it. I'm assuming it's Kylo Ren from memory. Anyway, if you happen to have 3 of those sets, you can actually make a full size. It's like 1 point something, because it's 1.2 meter tall Darth Vader out of the Lego things. which is
1.2
pretty neat.
meters tall.
Yeah, because it's 40 centimeters each from memory. So there's
But
3 of those.
Oh, who would want that in their bloody house?
Well, no, it's like it's just a painting. It's just a piece of
painting
art. No.
size,
So
like-
it's a piece of art. It's
But I'm saying,
it's
like,
just a
not really,
painting,
but-
just
A
a flat.
1.2 meter
on the wall.
tall piece of art's pretty
Oh
big.
yeah, but on a wall it's not that much. On a wall it's
okay.
like
It's
Fair
half
enough.
less
the
than
height
half the
of
wall,
most walls,
basically. Yeah, a lot of walls are like 2.5, 2.7 meters and a taller.
2.7 is pretty tall, but yeah, I
If I
don't
get
think
a
in a
house, I'm
million.
gonna get 2.7.
I don't think in a million years I would get that mic, but that's as a man with an amiibo
I don't know,
collection.
I'm
behind me.
surprised. Yeah, like this. If there's one thing that I feel like you would really enjoy, it's this.
No, definitely not. I know what you're talking
Okay.
about. I wouldn't.
What are the
like
other
that at
ones?
all. All right, let's
He's not
move on
sold.
to rounding out the TGA main things that came up. So in other highlights, other than Alan Wake and Star Wars Eclipse, there were a couple other game announcements that caught our attention. Maybe not your attention, but our attention. Number one was Wonder Woman. So this is being developed by Monolith Productions, the folks behind Blood Condemned, Fear, and Shadow of Mordor. It will be a single-player open-world action game, and it's also powered by their Nemesis system, trademark and copyrighted and patent pending. So a short teaser, well, very teaser trailer was shown. No gameplay, no nothing, and no release window. But yet, I'm pretty hyped about this. I have kind of wanted to play one of their games with the Nemesis system, and I think this will be my jumping in point because I don't really like the Lord of the Rings IP in general. So
Oh, well, neither does Shadow of Mordor. So it's
What
the
do you
most Lord of the Rings style
okay.
thing. It's not very Lord of the Rings, really.
yeah,
to
I
be
get
honest.
you. I get you.
Yeah, look, this. Sorry to cut you off. I'm going to jut in here. I played through Shadow of Mordor. I haven't played Shadow of War yet. The Nemesis system is such a cool idea and obviously very technically impressive, but I didn't feel it made that game any more fun. I didn't mind the game when I got through it all. Initially, I was a bit meh on it. So I'm really hoping this just, again, maybe they did it great in Shadow of War, but the Nemesis system to me is a great idea that's yet to have been fully realized in a fun way. I know a lot of people love it. So I'm hoping Wonder Woman does do it better. Weirdly, and God, this is going to sound like the most ridiculous thing, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right, has a kind of Nemesis system in it, right, for the mercenary. I think it's the mercenaries. I actually preferred the way they implemented a similar thing. Now, it doesn't work exactly the same way. There's a lot more AI going on in the Monolith's thing, but I think the way it was implemented, I preferred it because it was, I don't know, it was just felt like more of a fun implementation. So
can you explain the Nemesis system just briefly, like in a few sentences?
So the Nemesis system basically with Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War took it to another level, but Shadow of Mordor, basically you've got a lot of like Urukai and what's the term I'm thinking? What's the term for Urukai in Lord of the Rings? Can't remember. It's like a generic fantasy term. I can't remember. Anyway, basically you've got these enemies and you've got like commanders in there, and you take them out and they'll be replaced by new procedurally generated versions. But what happens if they survive, they remember and they get a grudge against you, and they also have their own traits and they develop new traits. And I believe, I can't remember, I think they may retain if you like damage them a certain way. I think when they come
injuries
back,
and stuff. Yeah,
injuries, they retain them, and it may
like
even
scars and stuff.
yeah, and it may lead them to getting new traits. I can't remember that.
I think it doesn't. I think you can't keep using the same trick on them because they know and they remember what you did last time or something like that. Yeah.
So, and I've like there's the DLC of Shadow of Mordor really kind of like there's a challenge where you have to go through and take them all out within an hour, and it's really, really tough. And I kind of really got burnt out on the system from that. But it's a cool idea. So I think it could be. I'd have no idea how they would do it in Wonder Woman. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. So.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it gives it another shot for people to try out that Nemesis system. The other game that we really, I think we kind of warmed up to, Swinny, Wild Dog Slitterhead. So from some of the folks behind Silent Hill 1, brand new devs, Boca Game Studio. And basically, like some of these devs, when they left Sony Interactive Entertainment back in December 2020, they formed the studio. Game is, and this is where I think, it's really warmed up for me a lot. It's inspired by Hong Kong and action horror cinema, very much set in Hong Kong, like classic Hong Kong with the old right-hand, very sharp, dangerous airport turn that had to happen to land there. Hence the shot of having, like Kowloon's walled city and the plane flying over it, like it literally was back in the day, which is awesome. You wanted to shout out the music, Swinny?
Yeah, so, but we mentioned some of the devs. I just do want to call out the fact that it's headed up by Keiichiro Toyama. So we mentioned Silent Hill, but also Gravity Rush. Like that is a well-beloved game. And he also worked on the Siren series as well. But in terms of music, this is Akira Yamaoka. So he is responsible for pretty much all the Silent Hill soundtracks. He worked on the Shadows of the Damned, a lot of other Suda51 games like Killer is Dead, Let It Go. He's also, he even worked on The Medium. I don't think he was the primary composer, but obviously him and these horror or horror motif games go together
yeah,
they go together so
those
well.
Games had awesome music.
But even the character designer, so I'd say I don't know how to pronounce the studio, Bokeh game studio, but they've been releasing information on the staff, and they actually talked about the character designer is actually Tatsuya Yoshikawa. So he worked on Devil May Cry 4, Devil May Cry 5, but he also worked on pretty much all the Mega Man X games that I could see, and also most of the Breath of Fire games.
Oh,
so they have an awesome team. Now, what I've seen people talk about with this is people look at the trailer and they're like, "This doesn't look like a horror game. This looks like an action game." and I think people, again, like I mentioned it earlier in the show, and this is where I wanted to bring it up, that horror as a concept, horror doesn't mean survival horror. That is a very specific implementation of the horror genre. It's your Resident Evil, it's your Silent Hill. Silent Hill is very much more psychological than Resident Evil as well. But action horror, like you've got films by the like of Takashi Miike in Japan, and we talked about the fact that, a lot of the inspiration for this game is from directors of Hong Kong action horror, where they're meant to be scary, but they're not meant to be like spooky. They're meant to kind of freak you out by the freakish body horror that's going on. But then you've got like motorcycle riding, samurai swords, and people doing crazy stuff to take them out. So it's a brand of horror. And I think people, like, just some of the reaction, people are like, I was expecting Silent Hill, right? No, they use the name Silent Hill in the intro. Fair enough. But that's what really appeals to me. This is, it's not completely unique, but we don't see this often in games. So that's why I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it looks like a fun ride. Like that. Yeah. This is the kind of game I want to hear other people's opinions about, just to go, okay, would I want to jump in on it or not? Because I could imagine it being a pretty fun romp, or it being a bit like, okay, didn't really enjoy it. Not that we're gonna mention it. Like, we're gonna have a specific note, but I was excited about that Star Trek Resurgence, I think, game, until it was like, this is gonna be a Telltale game. So I'm like,
well, it's not a Telltale game.
But but it is gonna be like a Telltale
so
game, right?
We talked about in this stream, but I'm glad you brought it up, because that's being headed up by a studio that's led by the guy that essentially destroyed Telltale from the inside.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah. So I put it in our kind of thing where we do a bit of a ranking. What do we want to talk about from the shows? And I think his name's Kevin Bruner. So he was I believe the CEO, I think that was his title at Telltale Games. And apparently, from everything I've read, was the reason why they kind of, they took on too much work, and they kind of, the company folded. And so the fact that it's a new game from a studio he's leading makes me go, I don't know if I want to anything to do with that, to be honest. But
but again, those style of games, I just cannot get into those style of games for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. And then our final shout out for the TGAs.
Very quick. So they announced that Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is being re-released on PC, PS4, and Switch in March. This is a cult hit fighting game. It's like an upgraded version of Persona 4 Arena. I've never played them, right? So just to be clear, there's a reason why I'm bringing it up, though. And they've developed by Arc System Works, who are obviously very beloved. I mean, they developed Guilty Gear Strive, which won Best Fighting Game this year. So what I kind of wanted to rant about was the fact that initially I'm like, oh, what? They're porting this game came out in 2014 on PS3 and Xbox, so 360. It's not a new game. But they're the only platforms you get them on other than arcade as well. So I'm glad that people have ports of them. But I just don't understand what Atlas are doing with Persona. Like, this is not what people, they are listing, to give you some context, a listing went up, people were getting hyped. Oh, there's a new Persona listing, right? Is it going to be Persona 4 on the Switch, right? I don't think we'll get Persona 5 on Switch, but whatever, right?
We could. It's a PS3 game.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I think that it's more likely Persona 4 because Persona 4 got ported to the Steam recently, I think. So
yeah, Golden, yeah.
Yeah, so people are, oh, Switch finally going to get it. And then they go and announce this. So I just don't understand what they're doing.
I was like, holy shit, is this Persona 4 Golden? When they first, showed the Persona stuff, I'm like, this is sweet.
I just don't unless there's some weird thing going on, arrangement with Sony, right? Exclusivity arrangement that somehow stands the test of the time all these years later. I just don't understand. Like, to me, it's such a weird, bad business decision to do this. Like, that would have been a perfect opportunity. Obviously, they develop things and then announce them. I'm not saying, they announce it on the spot, then decide they're going to make it. But I just wanted to rant a bit. The fact that, like, that seems like such a bad direction to go as a business. Like, it's easy money for you to port that to Switch.
I agree. I would buy it, dude.
I don't understand it.
If they had it, if it came out on the Switch, the smart way to do it is put that out. They'll make a buckload of money and then put out Persona 5 on the Switch and it'll make another bucketload of money.
Anyway, that's why I just want to bring it up. So
yeah, but I think this is what I love about Japanese companies. They do shit that's like makes zero sense. Like from a capitalist business perspective. Like they have weird honor and like they don't want to offend other companies, and it's very weird shit, which I love. It's weird, but they've always been weird. This is Atlas, right?
Yeah.
They've always been really like crazy on like not releasing a lot of physical copies in the West and like all the way back in the day. So, I mean, it's kind of carried over. So
Anyway, that's not the biggest news. The biggest news we've yet to talk about coming out of the Game Awards.
And I did have this was in the pre-show. Jeff, you should have left this to the last 15 minutes. So, you know, huge news. We'll break into the segment now. I don't want to spoil it, even though you probably can see the up next thing if you're watching the video feed, that we have more amiibo. Yes, 2020 is the year of amiibo. Thank you very much. Alongside a new trailer for Monster Hunter Rise's Sunbreak expansion, Capcom have revealed 3 more Monster Hunter amiibo, much to my delight. So the amiibo are Malzeno, Palamute, Canine Malzeno X, and Palico Feline Malzeno X. These will all unlock.
So what the who now?
So sorry, can I just say before you get into that, I know you've actually, there's only like one more piece of information you're going to say.
Yeah.
So I'll let you finish. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, these are unlocking layered armor, so you can use your regular armor with whatever stats you have, and these are just like a skin over the top of it, which is cool. Cool. They will drop. They're expected to drop around mid 2022, and this will join the existing 3 amiibo that I have for Monster Hunter Rise, 3 amiibo from Monster Hunter Stories 2, which I have, and 3 amiibo for Monster Hunter Stories, which I don't have. I'm more than happy if anyone gives them to me. I think one single one of those amiibo is trading around $500-$600 now on the secondary market.
What?
That's
So
one of them.
I just wanted to mention
the money.
So the Game Awards, obviously you got a lot of content creators out there that are like, oh, our reaction to this, our reaction to this, right? Now, we clipped and put up the reaction to Integot seeing these new amiibo.
Yeah, I got it hyped.
I'm looking at, now I know YouTube search is not very, sometimes very reliable, but I can only see one other person that's mentioning anything about amiibo.
Really?
At all.
Wow.
I don't think anyone's reacted at
Integot's
all
found a soulmate.
to this. And they don't even have it in the title. They've just got it in as a picture in their thing. I think your clip is like the only one
And
I
how
can
many
find
people have
that's
watched it?
reacting. Right,
10, 20, 30
a number
people.
of people. The other clips, let's say they've got
There's
over like
dozens
20.
of us,
They've got like
dozens.
20. They've got like 20,000 views on that other one. But
What? The other person?
the other
But
person.
how big is their channel? Do they have hundreds of
Yeah.
subscribers or
It's,
tens of thousands
it's,
or millions?
It's a little bigger than us. It's
there you go.
1.2 million people.
1.2 million
So
subscribers.
a few more zeros. Okay, fair enough.
But
We're coming for you. We're
But
coming for
I
you.
just love that when I went to look it up, because I look things up so I can try to title our videos in hopefully a way that people will find people. And I couldn't find anyone
dog.
saying Sunbreak amiibo reaction or anything other than us.
Fascinating.
So
And we should say, we're a tiny little baby channel. We just do this for fun, really to catch up, because we'll never talk to each other otherwise. But cool. I don't know if we're allowed to mention this, but I'll just mention it anyway. That Capcom reached out to us, which was really cool, and asked us if they wanted us to check out the Monster Hunter Rise for PC when it comes out in a few weeks. So we will be doing that and giving our impressions of it. And actually, if they give me the Sunbreak DLC, I'll have to switch to the PC version. So yeah, that'd be cool. Actually, when I think about how much money I've given Capcom through Amiibo, they'd probably owe me a code. But yeah, no, I was hyped, man. People should get in on these. These Monster Hunter Amiibo are sweet. All right, let's get into other news. This is just my show. This week.
Basically.
Let's get into the next thing that I'm hyped about.
Just laying back now.
Well, no, you want to hear this. So more Analogue Pocket pre-orders have been announced. So this is how you can give yourself a fighting chance for scoring one of these. I'll give my little tips and tricks for people.
Okay.
To
I've
give
got my
you the
browser
edge.
open.
Give you the edge. Stop everyone else. Everyone else can wait years for the Analogue Pockets to come. So Analogue Pockets are starting to ship, like from when we're recording this, basically tomorrow. They'll start shipping around the world. The pre-orders will start 8 a.m. December 14th Pacific time, which is for Australia, 3 a.m. December 15th. Is that Wednesday or Thursday, Swinny?
15th.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah.
So
I'm going to put an
Wednesday.
alarm.
So that's
3 a.m.
morning.
December 15th.
So
okay.
Tuesday night, you have to wake up the next day, Wednesday
2:30
morning.
Tuesday
Okay.
night.
They have increased the price by $20 to $220, and they've quoted that it's due to component price increases, which seems extremely reasonable. Accessories will remain the same. And then, quote, "It is our goal for everyone who wants a Pocket to be able to secure an order. To accomplish this in the context of the global pandemic, we are implementing a fulfillment protocol," end quote. So I look at this and go, people, this is all the stuff that they wanted Analog to do, give people enough notice of when, you know, the thing's going to come up for pre-order, and then basically have an open, you know, pre-order system. Now, the way it's going to work is depending on when you get your order in, they're going to ship it at different times. And it's like a huge difference. And my guess is, this is my speculation, that, you know, I'm probably on the internet the biggest expert in this space. Not. But I actually follow the subreddit, so I shouldn't say that. But Group A is Q1 2022, and then Group B is Q4 2022, and Group C is 2023, right? What I believe has happened here is Analog have a policy. If you email them and say, hey, I want all my money back, because when you order, you have to pay full amount, right? But they're very good about, like, if you ever go, hey, I don't want this, they just give you the money back like within a few days, right?
Nice.
What I believe has happened here is that Group A are all the people who have cancelled their Analogue Pocket orders from like, you gotta remember, like, I ordered it like, when was it? A year ago or like 15 months ago. It was ages ago when I ordered it, right? It was October last year from memory, right? When I ordered the Analogue Pocket.
So a year ago.
So a lot of people, I believe, would have cancelled it. So I believe that that's what these Q1 2022 orders are. And therefore, it won't be very many. Like, I would expect there's like hundreds max of those.
Okay.
So realistically, I think everyone, if you are ordering, the best you're going to do is like Q4 2022, if you follow my tips, 2023 otherwise. So my tips, and this is where Swinny's like, sorry, Swinny, you don't cover your ears. The most effective way to order anything analog quickly is to use Apple Pay. So it's actually much faster to log in using Safari. I don't use Safari as my default driver when I use my iPhone, but in this instance, jump on Safari, make sure you have filled in everything, like form fill, like your name, all this other kind of stuff in Apple Pay properly. And what you'll find is, as soon as you go on the store, click on like the Analogue Pocket, bang, press it, you hit Apple Pay, it will like basically instantly order it for you. And like following the threads and everyone on the forums, the Discord, the subreddit, it seemed like anyone who did Apple Pay dominated it last time and got it like almost guaranteed. So, you know, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, I'd highly recommend going down that route. The other part is like, for sure, have like your iPhone set up and then also your computer. Like, have two options that you can have running. And again, like, make sure you have all the form stuff filled out, get all that stuff going. I think that's the best way you can do it. And if you do not order it straight away, it will get like, you'll be in 2023 for sure. If you don't like wake up at 3 a.m., there's no way you'll get it in 2022.
If you wake up at 3 a.m., you're not going to get it until 2023. You got to wake up at 2:30-ish.
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And then also, just the last thing I'll say and throw to you, Swinny, that if you do order it and it comes back and it says, okay, you're in Group C 2023, you can say, hey, I want to cancel it and get the money back. So
why would you? Just wait.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, for people who go, oh, you know what, that's too long to have $220 tied up for ages.
Inflation, man, freaking inflation. $220, especially in the US, is going to be like $500
I am looking
by
forward
then.
to my 2 Analogue Pockets that should be on the way shortly with a billion
Greedy
accessories
son
that
of
are
a-
coming. Hey, I'm gonna play it with my kid. So, you know, I've waited so long, he's now old enough
right.
to play it.
All right.
But yeah, Swinny, what were you gonna say?
So my question is, if you don't bother waking up 3 a.m., you just like next day, okay, I want to go put the order in. Do you think it will still be there and you'll just jump in, fall in Group C?
2030.
All right, then that's cool with me because I want one of these. I definitely want an Analogue Pocket. I just don't want to have to work for it.
Yeah,
Like, I
okay.
find that I understand that's the way things work, right? I just find it ridiculous as a consumer that you have to kind of go to these lengths to purchase the product.
Yeah.
So I'm cool if I don't get mine till 2023
Okay.
because I'm not in a rush. Like I've got the thing is my Game Boy that's up on the shelf there, unfortunately doesn't work anymore. And I've got all my old Game Boy Advance and my old Game Boy games that I can't play. But I'm not in a rush to play them. Obviously, I haven't been. Otherwise, I probably would have been like, oh, I need a new Game Boy. So
the question, you don't want to work for this. How many days does it take to get Centrelink approved? If you were to quit your job right now, go on Centrelink, so they can give you the money, which you can then use to buy the Analogue Pocket.
We should say also, because most of our audience is not Australian, Centrelink is our social security network.
It's our social security, yeah.
I
But
get where
still
you're
don't
going, Mike,
understand the
but
thread.
Well, the idea is that you don't
That's
want to
a
pay
pointless
for
question.
it. If you don't want to pay for it, then I think you should.
He
quit
doesn't
your
want to
job
work.
right
He doesn't want to have to be their
to work
bitch
for
to
it,
wake
yeah.
up and like.
But you're gonna work for it
refresh and-
anyway because you got to go to your job so you can earn the money to be able to
all right.
go pay for it.
I'm ignoring Mike's question to just say another point now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question, Mike. No.
You're
Let's
welcome.
move on.
Okay.
I made an exception for the Analog NT because Super NT, sorry, because I was worried that they would never release another batch.
And I don't know if they will, man.
Yeah, so and I'm like, okay, this might be the last chance. Whereas I had confidence that there would be at some point more Analog Pockets, you know. So I'm like, well, maybe I was wrong to assume that, but obviously they are releasing some. So I'm cool. I'm cool if they're like, okay, it's not ready 2023. Then
Now
fine,
you're making me
yeah.
nervous that I've said like that. Yeah, you could just jump in on the merge.
No, the thing is, right, and if I miss out, I miss
I'd
out.
be
But
surprised,
I
man.
just, it's kind of like part of me. It's like, man, and it's the same with concert tickets and stuff. I don't want to do something to that level, but it's fine if anyone does. You know, it's just me personally. But this is awesome that they're releasing more ones. So my question for Mike,
Yo,
what's the first Game Boy game or Game Boy Advance game you're going to play on your pocket?
Just because I've got like the information, can I say it, Swinny?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly, because like I've read articles with him, Chris Tabor, right, who's the CEO, and he has said that he doesn't look at it as a limited product. Like he does want to make more. And in the tweet that they posted, it says, our goal is for everyone who wants a pocket to be able to secure an order. So like, I kind of take that as surely they couldn't sell out in an hour. That would just like make people ballistic if they did that when they're saying we want everyone. Now, maybe that's a 24-hour window. Maybe that's like a 48-hour window. You know what I mean, Swinny?
Yeah.
Because they've done that before as well. They did that with the NT Noir from memory. They sort of said, if you want one, order it, and then we'll make them to like however many are ordered. And I think they closed it after 24 hours. They didn't tell anyone they were going to do that, but that's the way I'd look at it, Swinny. But yeah, sorry, going back to the first Game Boy game, Mike.
It was a bit of an asshole question to Mike. I'm wondering what Game Boy or Game Boy Advance games he would play on his new Analog Pocket that he's apparently going to get.
well, I will get it. I don't know what else.
Can you follow my tips and see if you get into the first group?
Yeah, I'll follow your tips.
Do you know what? I'll be pissed if that happens. I'll be super pissed if you go on your iPhone in December, mid-December. I've waited for a fucking year for this thing. And then you get yours shipped like maybe 3 weeks after mine. That fucking pissed me off, man.
Could happen. I'll put an
really could
alarm on my
happen.
phone, so we'll see.
Yeah. Follow my tip. Like Apple
Tips.
Pay is the goal.
I
And
gotta
just the
start.
last thing before we move on is that the Duo, so this is the PC Engine, TurboGrafx clone console. Their site still says that it's due in 2021, but it hasn't come up for order yet. So I don't know if they've just forgotten about it or they're just like so worried about the Pocket. They haven't mentioned anything. So I thought that was really bizarre. All right, that's the end of the news, and we will go into the minute. What? No, not the minute, Mike. Sorry. Mike failed. Mike failed last week, everyone. We actually posted a clip of you failing on our YouTube channel, Mike.
Yeah,
Not that
Mike
you
probably
know.
doesn't know that.
Yeah, jump on our channel. You can see
don't
your
know
sad
that.
face in black and white.
Very disappointed still.
So you have failed. So now we are moving on to 1 min for the swin.
1 min for the swing.
1 min for
God,
the swin.
I remembered that from like
Love the name.
5 months ago. I got to give it to Mike. He lasted a long time. you
He
know.
did. That's
what-
the rumors.
That's what she said.
He's talking about the Game Awards. He's the sting of the news recaps.
Nice.
Yes.
So you have also reset the counter. So it doesn't feel right to get you to verify how many words, because how can I trust that? But
Well,
it's
if
not
someone else puts in the work that I do, they could do it. But I'm not
hey,
going to
I
start.
do a lot of work.
No, I
but
believe
the-
him. I believe him.
I'm not gonna start at 200 words. Are you insane?
I thought you were going to
actually
start at
thought about.
160. 180 is a lot.
Well, I was. It was less, but then more stuff happened that I wanted to include, so I
Yeah.
couldn't help myself.
So
And
just to
Swinny's a
remind
man of
everyone,
honor.
just to remind everyone, this is where we wrap up the news. These are things that we do care about, but we don't really have anything to say, or we just don't want to be negative. But we do want to have, the podcast is a record of gaming history. You could follow the podcast and know everything about gaming because of one Min for the Swin. So as we do, I'll let Swinny start. Whenever he starts, I'll put the timer on. And then whenever you're ready to go.
Okay. Rebellion have announced Sniper Elite 5 coming 2022 for all consoles excluding Switch and PC. Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy are getting upgraded for the Legacy of Thieves collection. PUBG Battlegrounds is going free to play on all platforms in January. Ubisoft have announced Quartz, their new NFT-based cosmetic system, and they have since delisted the announcement video after massive backlash. Tencent have launched Level Infinite, their new AAA games label. Sony have acquired Seattle-based studio Valkyrie Entertainment. Fortnite has been upgraded to the Unreal Engine 5 with its move to Chapter 3. Xbox Game Pass for PC is being rebranded to PC Game Pass. Banjo-Kazooie is being added to the Nintendo Switch Online N64 library next month. Sony has revealed a prototype for an 8K VR headset. Garfield will be the next fighter added to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls of free DLC. Stalker 2 will be around 180 gig install on Xbox Series consoles, and Masayuki Uramura, lead architect of the NES and SNES, has passed away at age 78.
Oh, you did it. 5 seconds to go. I thought you were going to struggle.
Well done.
No,
that felt comfortable. That
you were
felt
just
like
cruising.
Yeah, you were just cruising through it. It was really easy to understand what you were saying. Way easier than what I.
It helps when you actually
That was really
write the
good.
notes, I think,
That's
when you're
true.
reading them.
You
This
like
is also your
practice.
style of speaking, right?
Mike is insane. The fact that I don't think he ever
I don't pre-read. I just
pre-read
like,
any of
put it up
them.
and
Like,
go, oh shit.
it was completely whatever's coming up, he doesn't know, So
But I like it that way because it's a surprise for me as well.
I gotta say, Mike, that's surprisingly a little nerve-wracking doing that segment.
A little
I gotta
bit,
say.
but you did really well.
I don't know if I showed
very
it, but I
impressed.
felt it.
You were just like
No,
a
no,
Rolls.
your voice was really clear.
Yeah,
It was
you were a
really good.
Rolls Royce on the highway,
Yeah,
just
just-
cruising, just 60
I don't
gear.
know. I
Didn't
don't know
even
how I
pick
feel
up
about
enough.
bumping it up much higher yet.
Nah.
We'll see how we
Oh,
go.
you're gonna have to dial that baby up.
Actually, that is more funny. We should have to just force the person to keep going up and up and up until they fail. It's like beat the bomb kind
Like
of thing.
5 words at a time or something. Yeah.
I actually looked back to some older minute mics that were like half this size, and I'm like, oh man, that was so much easier for you back then, Mike.
Can we just do one word each week? We just add one word. That seems reasonable, right?
Okay,
no, I
fair
think
enough.
five.
Not 5. Jesus, after like
Yeah,
10
don't
one
think
minutes
it's
extra
word.
words.
It's
Don't
gonna
think I'm
take
getting
him
Chris
20
fine.
bloody weeks. That's nearly half a year
Let's
for
do
him to
it.
get
Let's
to
do it.
200.
One word.
Nah, 2 words.
Because I could easily screw it up just by like losing my place.
I like how we're just arguing over 2 words.
Anyway,
Very well done,
Right.
Swinny. Very, very,
Very
well
well
done.
done.
I
Good
would
job.
not be able to do that. I would struggle on some of these words and laugh. so.
You'll get your turn. Don't worry.
No, I'm not.
Eventually.
I'm not a part of that. So
What?
it goes back
he
to
hosts
you.
the show, man.
Yeah, it's back to you, Mike. If he fails,
Oh God.
we should have a score because of it. All right, let's jump into our first special feature, Swinny.
Yes, so this isn't going to be a long one because the game isn't a long one. It's a little game that I played this week that was came out of nowhere. So mentioned it earlier in the show, Cave Story. So the game that came out in 2004, almost kind of like the original indie darling. On Wikipedia, I was reading it. They said it really well. It's like the quintessential indie game. Developed by one person, blew up in popularity, kind of really influenced a lot of the next wave of indie titles to talk about things like your Super Meat Boy and your Fez. They kind of all have their Pixel, who's the guy, Daisuke Amaya, the one guy behind Cave Story, kind of was a huge influence for a lot of these developers. But anyway, so we had a game come out this week. It's free. It's on Steam, GOG, and Epic Game Store. It's limited time, apparently. I reckon it'll probably run until maybe, the end of the month, I reckon. And it's called Cave Stories Secret Santa. And for anyone that loves Cave Story, which is like a side-scroller shooter with some light Metroidvania elements, this plays absolutely nothing like Cave Story, so don't expect it to. It's all this is basically like a little mini Christmas stealth game, and it's just really really cool. It's only took me about an hour to beat, so it's very short. It's a very small download as well, so you can just literally install it, play it for an hour, and then be done with it. You could probably even play through half of it before you're like, okay, cool, I've seen what I want to see. So I mentioned it's a stealth game. It's obviously set in the world of Cave Story, but as an actual game itself, it's very, very much like a classic Metal Gear style stealth game where you're avoiding guards with cones of vision. You do get it does start adding some complexity, like there's vents and you have to find a pry bar in the level to open the vents. There's like little rubber ducks that you can step on to attract the guards away from their post. There's even like a little empty present box that you jump in, like the cardboard box from Metal Gear Solid, which is a really cool homage there. And as I said, it's like, you navigate from, I think it's about 20 something levels, and you navigate between them on a like Super Mario World style map. And honestly, that's all there is to the game. There's not a lot of story to it. It's just a very basic setup. It's obviously stars some characters from the Cave Story universe. This wasn't developed solely by Pixel. Nicalis, I believe it's pronounced, the company that since essentially owns Cave Story. And I'm not going to get into big politics of that. The Steam reviews are very mixed because a lot of people don't like.
They hate that publisher.
Yeah, apparently the way they, Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. As a game, I think it's really, really fun. It's gorgeous. It's just a fun little thing.
Can I just ask, why does this exist? It's cool, and I'm definitely downloading it, but I don't understand why.
Spyware.
So to give.
For the Illuminati.
To basically explain, with Cave Story, so the original came out 2004. Then they ported the game to WiiWare and DSiWare in 2010. So 6 years later, there was an upgraded version called Cave Story Plus.
Yeah, which is the one I played.
Yeah, they made a 3D remake on 3DS.
Oh, I played that one as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Switch got a port of the Cave Story Plus in 2017. There's never been a full sequel or anything.
Got that one.
And just out of nowhere in 2021 Christmas,
so weird.
It's cool. Like it's obviously just a little thing for them to like just remind people that the company exists and the brand exists. I would love a Cave Story 2. I don't think the fans would probably like if it's not made by Pixel, but he's gone on to make new games and stuff. So anyway,
but Nicalis,
I like this.
or whatever, however you say their thing, they make a lot of other games, right?
Yeah. So they what was the game I was thinking of before? I'm on there now.
Binding of Isaac, that's like
Binding of Isaac.
They published that as well.
Elite Quest, which I quite like. They've done lots of smaller games, but that's their thing.
VV.
Yeah, like these pixel games, 2D art, it's kind of their thing. So yeah, anyway, nice little fun.
I just feel like maybe they must be working on Cave Story 2 or a spin-off or something. Well, I mean, so strange to release this.
But I mean, they use the Cave Stories a lot in just their general branding and stuff. So it's probably more, even though it's obviously Cave Story Secret Santa, it's probably more like a Nicalis, or however you say it. Just like a gift to their fans, as opposed to it's a gift specifically to Cave Story fans.
Maybe they're trying to mend bridges and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. No, look, that's cool. If you're saying it's good, worthwhile playing.
Worthwhile playing if you're a fan of Cave Story and if you're a fan of little stealth games. If you don't like stealth games, this game's not going to be your bag at all. But again, it's only an hour long, so
I'll try.
I think Integot, you said you're not a big fan of stealth games, so I don't think you'd like this. So
did I say that I don't like stealth?
Or at least stealth in games, maybe when there's other options.
Oh yeah.
That might be what you actually
go in all guns blazing.
Yeah, no,
so you would be a horrible Assassin's Creed player.
Yeah, no, I'd like it in things like Metal Gear Solid, like that's fine.
Okay.
In Deus Ex, like that's cool. But it's when it's like you could just run in and shoot people. I'll just always do that. Like there's no way I'm stealthy.
Maybe give it a shot. It's such a short little thing.
I might. It looks cool. Any other thoughts, Mike, before we jump into final impressions?
A random thought is this reminded me of a game called Unmetal. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah, I've heard of Unmetal.
Like a parody. I don't know if you could call it a parody of Metal Gear, but It's along those lines.
Yeah,
Looks fun.
Yeah, I remember it actually came out this year, but I thought it was older. Anyway.
Yeah, I
Unmetal.
thought it was older too.
Yeah.
It's called Unmetal, yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of a parody of the whole Metal Gear genre.
All right. Well, let's jump into what everyone's been waiting for. Our impressions of the Halo Infinite campaign that just got launched this week.
I mean,
It's been a long time coming, but the chief is back, baby. So there's weird structure here, Swinny.
I should probably write
Mike
it
and I
differently for you.
took
for
the
your
time
sake.
this week to check out Halo Infinite's campaign, and I know we're going to get triggered by content ID by showing this. So weirdly enough, Halo released the multiplayer component on its 20th anniversary, and the campaign just came out this week to make it a full package.
Whoever could have predicted that happening?
Yes, exactly. Or is it? Because the co-op isn't there, and also Forge. So it's going to take about 6 months for the whole campaign. Basically 18 months from when it was meant to come out. The full package will be out. Okay, so background is I've probably played a little bit more Halo than Mike. I enjoy Halo.
Way
Played
more.
through the Halo 3 campaign. Want to play co-op with Swinny, but he's a bitch. So we're never going to do that. Look, whoever's out there in the internet, reach out to me. I need a new friend. I need new friends who actually play these bloody co-op games with me. If you're in Australia, let me know.
Blame my obsession with RPG achievements.
You're obsessed
Blame
about
that.
RPG achievement bullshit, and Mike is ADHD. So
What?
I got no one to play with. I'm doing a game show and I got no one to play with. But yeah, like I actually would rather play the co-op on this, but you know, for
Same.
the show, want to do the campaign. So, and Mike, you are not a big fan of Halo in general.
No,
Is
I'm
that
not.
fair?
So look, I played previous titles, never finished any of them that I recall, but I think I probably played every title that's come out. I just was never really a fan of the Halo franchise. I thought the universe was really interesting, and to be honest, I've tried to rationalize this. I've tried to figure out why I wasn't the biggest fan, and I never could. I have an inkling it's to do with the fact that the game doesn't know if it needs to be serious or funny, and it mixes the two, and it just doesn't work with me that way. But yeah, look, traditionally I haven't been a fan. But can I give a spoiler out?
Not really.
Really
kind of
enjoyed this one.
Oh, okay.
He needs a spoiler for the impressions, not for the
Yeah.
game.
Well, we're in the impressions now. You're allowed to say whatever you think, right?
So all of that aside, all of my prior history with Halo aside, you can almost say I'm coming fresh to the franchise in that sense. Like I said, I dabbled in it a little bit, but I'm new to the game franchise, so to speak, and I'm really digging this. Same quirks as the previous ones with the funny talking aliens that kind of almost takes me out of the universe, if that makes sense.
I will say,
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I will
And
say,
it-
you've been talking about that for like since the Halo 3 time. So when
Since-
did the Halo 3 come out? That's how long I've been
When
hearing
did the
you
Halo
talk
3
about.
come out?
yeah, but
When did Halo
I'm-
3 come out?
I
right?
don't know.
Just think back then. That's how long I've been hearing Mike complain about.
But
the
I've
fact
been
that-
I've been thinking about that since the original Halo, if you know what I mean. So this is this is probably one of my few. Well, there's a couple of gripes that I'll talk about as well.
Yeah.
But one of the things is I struggle to kind of get immersed into the world when it's all serious, very, very serious sort of talk about this and about that. And then I'm like listening to all this funny stuff
The
of
grunts.
an alien. Yeah, the grunts and they've got the towers that you have to destroy. And they're kind of like, look, honest, I find it funny. I find it funny at
No,
the
you
same
don't.
time.
No, you don't.
No, but I find the dialogue funny, but it takes me out of the experience to a large extent. Because I'm trying to get invested in the seriousness of the story, and Master Chief is a really freaking serious player in this thing, and the other characters as well. But then they try to sort of inject all this humor, which often kind of, I have to say, kind of hits the mark. But a lot of the other times I'm like, it feels a bit flat.
See, my counter to that was when Halo Reach came out. That's set before they had a way to decipher the alien language, so you don't hear any of that stuff in Reach. And my argument was, if you don't like that, then play Reach because
Yeah, maybe I
that's
would have
not there,
enjoyed
you know?
that. Yeah, or maybe there could have been a toggle in this where I could do that, because then I'd probably take the game. Look, anyway, it's its own thing. It creates its own sort of I don't even know how to describe it. It's very Halo-ish, if that makes sense. And a couple of really small gripes before I go into the positives, and I think overwhelmingly to me there's more positives than there are negatives, but I might as well get them out of the way. I didn't mind the way the game began. I just felt like, I don't know if it was the best way for most people to get into the game. It was full on, no worries, it was full on corridors, typical, very linear,
the start of it, yeah,
very corridor.
Holy
and I'm
shit.
like, wow, this could throw a few people off, especially people like me that may not be
It's boring.
into the whole genre. It was really boring in that sense. And one of the gripes that I have with these kind of games as well is I always think to myself, does this feel organic as an environment? Can I sort of look at it as the level design that you could think, okay, this is a real location that you could imagine is real? And I always struggle with some of the sci-fi environments because I look at them and I think, who in their right mind would design something like this? Like, it just doesn't, it feels very gamey. It feels very artificially designed as opposed to an organic kind of level design with all the things within it. But in saying all of that, they're probably my two main gripes. There's a bit of repetition and stuff like that going on, and I think I'm fairly far into the. I don't know how many hours did you put into it?
Oh no, way less than you.
Okay, I put in quite a few hours into this thing.
It's only like 10 or 12 hours, the game.
Oh, wow. In that case, I must be getting close to the end, I reckon, in that sense.
Wow.
But the reality is I'm enjoying it to the extent that I'm actually doing a lot of the side stuff as well.
Yeah, because
so, like, I'm exploring,
without
spoiling
it, it sort of goes into, it's not like an open world, but it's like a hub open world based thing that you can go off and do optional stuff.
Once you get into it, the only thing that stops you from going anywhere you want in the world is story progression. So you can't just go to the other side of the map immediately, as far as I'm aware, because the story restricts you to be able to do that. I've tried, but because there's gaps in the map that you can't go over, even with the grapple hook, you can't actually, you can tell it's intentional to gate you from being able to go too far ahead.
But that's what I mean. I feel like you can't really call that like an open world.
Probably not
game.
But it's still, it's not the typical, level based. You go from one level to the next level.
It's a huge change for Halo.
Like, it's a massive change, yeah. And I love the formula.
Extremely.
Yeah, exactly. So it's way less linear now, I think. At least within the bounds that you have, and it does open up more because eventually you kind of get the ability to just go to previous places if you want to explore them again and stuff like that. And the grapple hook opens it up a lot.
Can I talk about that? Because like that grapple hook is so sick. Like,
it's freaking sweet. I love it.
Just jumping in because you've got more impressions of this game. Like, this game, it's kind of like in the realm of Halo 2, Halo 3 for me. I never played Halo 4 and 5, and honestly, I just don't have enough time to play every game. And I've just, I made a call. Like, people who love Halo are like, they're okay. So I'm like, that's not a ringing endorsement for me. Because even, like, honestly, Halo 3, the quality of that game from a campaign point of view, I'll talk about multiplayer separately, but from a campaign point of view, I'm like, it's awesome to play as co-op for me personally. But as an individual campaign, I'm like, it's okay, but I'd rather play something like Doom, or Doom Eternal. Like, I love those games, right? And this one, this is really awesome. Really enjoyed it, but I won't continue. Like, I'll wait for someone to play co-op. If you want to play co-op, or Swinny, or all three of us.
I'll play co-op for sure, man.
All three of us
when
would
it comes
be fun.
out. Actually, if we can do 3 players, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll wait till that comes out and play it more, but the grapple hook thing is super awesome. Like, that creates a mad dynamic for this game. I really enjoyed that component of it.
Really cool dynamic.
Having said all that, the multiplayer is freaking awesome for this game. Like, I could get super hooked. I actually deleted it because I'm like, I'm gonna
damn.
This is like Rocket League for me. I'll just end up playing this game, nothing else. I'll just play another game. I'll just play another game because it's like that Portal game. What? Shit, I've forgotten the name of what it was called. Do you remember that?
Splitgate.
Yeah, Splitgate. Yeah.
I've got a question. Have we heard how long this campaign is meant to be?
Yeah, Integot said about 10 hours. And I'm starting to feel I'm getting close to the end. But I do get sidetracked with a lot of side stuff.
Okay.
It's a bit open world as well, Swinny, right? So you can skip a whole bunch of it.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because to me, like, co-op, when you're talking about missions, you move mission to mission to mission as a co-op game, is very different to a game that has some elements of an open, but I know it's not fully.
What?
So that's why I was
It's
wondering:
not-
is it actually?
yeah.
That's what
Is
I
it
wonder how
actually
it
going to
go,
be as
yeah.
fun? You know.
Yeah, I get that. But I just think co-op's always more fun in these kind of games personally for me. I know
This
it's not
game
for you,
feels like it would benefit from co-op. In fact, there's a couple of places that I'm not going to spoil where I almost feel it's designed for co-op. It was harder doing it single person because I'm like, wow, if the second person was here, it'd be so much bloody easier to do this particular part.
So just looking at how long to beat, you know, so it's like 10 hours for the main story and then
Wow.
main story and extras. So that's like, you know, you play through a bunch of other stuff. It's like about 15. But even looking at
Wow,
like
that's pretty
leisurely, just the main
short.
story, it's like 12, 13 hours. So
That's pretty short. Wow.
yeah.
Well, look
I
to
like
put
that
into
though.
perspective.
By the way, like
no,
when
it's
games are
it's
like
really
that,
good. Yeah.
I'm like,
That's
thank
fine.
you. Like, I don't
And
want to have a
you know what?
40-hour
Yeah.
or Assassin's Creed kind of game.
By the way, sorry, just completely sidetrack, but it is about how long to beat. Their estimate of Tales of Arise is absolute bullshit. I just want to call
can
that
I
out.
just
I haven't
say-
had a chance to
Right.
talk about
You
that.
would never allow us to do that type of interjection on a random topic.
I
I'm
just
red
like
carding you
That's
now,
all good.
Swinny. You're red carded.
no, I just
You're
wanted to
disappearing
say
in the feed.
because that came up on the show once,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, they only say 40 hours.
Oops, I picked the wrong person.
Hey.
Maybe it's 40 hours if you're not actually watching the cutscenes. Anyway, just
That's-
putting that out there.
Yeah,
Back to
that's my
Halo,
time.
back to
That's
Halo.
my time
So-
when I entered it in.
Back to- yeah.
So for once, Mike is on topic and actually talking about
I
the
know.
game.
And
Look,
deep
so
insights.
I don't know how far I am into the campaign, obviously, because I'm trying not to spoil anything for myself because I am intrigued what happens next. But if you were to take the upgrades as a means to go, well, how far are you in the upgrade tree? I've maxed out every single skill bar one,
Oh, wow,
which
you're
I'm like
deep.
halfway through. So I'd imagine that's pretty deep in that sense. Because there's really only another maybe 7 things I need to discover to fully max out all the stuff.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know if there's more points you can find than actual upgrades. I doubt it. I'd imagine it's going to be the same amount. Speaking of upgrades, one tiny gripe I have with the grappling hook is it's too bloody good to the extent
Yeah, it
that
is. It's
I do not
ridiculous.
use any of the other upgrades because I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
don't see the point because it's so freaking sweet. And because you can only use one ability at a time, so you if you use the grapple hook, you got to change with the D-pad to put the other abilities on. So for example, the dash, so you can dash forward out of enemy fire and stuff. Awesome, but it's kind of cumbersome to have to swap to that and then swap back to the grapple hook and
Yeah.
do that. I almost feel like if it was 2 separate buttons or if you could map each
Back
one onto
buttons,
the
baby.
D-pod.
Back buttons.
Yeah, exactly, or something like that, and you can independently control them. That would be way better than I would actually go use the other ones. But as it stands, honestly, there's no point using the other ones. It's just I always when I traverse the space, always bloody grapple hook because it's by far the best and
Yeah.
most fun. And when I'm in the middle of a combat, I just love the grapple hook because it's kind of like playing in Mass Effect using some of the biotic abilities where you rush at a person, you hold the melee button, which is one of the upgrades, and you smash into them and it causes an explosion around them and stuns all the enemies nearby. And I'm just running into bases doing that nonstop. Look, I love the game. That's all I can say. It can get a
okay.
little repetitive. I find that the world is really cool in terms of the way it looks and stuff. There's some really nice vistas and scenes to see. It gets a little bit repetitive because unlike previous games, which I didn't play enough to really judge, but I think Halo fans would know this, they had cities, they had sort of different spaces to explore, whereas this is kind of hills and about the same stuff most of the time. And the only difference is you go inside certain structures, but even they kind of get a bit repetitive. So the world is a little stale at some point, but it still looks beautiful and it's still cool. And I still enjoy going and exploring things, other than it does suffer from the Assassin's Creed early Ubisoft games where you're like, there's almost no point trying to find a place because it's just gonna be some other upgrade or something. There's little stories that you can kind of see the developers were trying to put into there, but it's not enough to really give you that cool sense of exploration that I think some other games can do.
And just on the biomes, so if you actually see the multiplayer maps, there's different biomes that don't appear in the single player campaign. And
Interesting. Huh.
Jason Schreier has a pretty interesting article on this where there's a whole bunch of the content that they've scrapped from the game. So basically when, Swinny, do you mind looking up the name of the dude? I can't remember. The guy who came in from the original Halo team and took over the whole production.
I'll have a look.
Jason something, I think his name might be, or Stanton, or
I didn't know that. That would explain
anyway.
some.
So basically, it was way more open world and like more biomes and stuff, but it was a bit of a mess, supposedly. I don't know. I never played that version of it, so it's totally been reworked and made more linear in a lot of ways, and a lot of content.
It is a bit linear, to be honest. Even though it's open, it's still linear missions and stuff.
Joseph Staten.
Oh, I was close.
Staten. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Joseph, that's what it is. So, no, but like, it's funny. Like, I think you're way more into it than I am. Like, I think it's like,
weird and ironic.
Look,
I'm digging it. I just love the gameplay. It's so solid.
If you want to play the Master Chief Collection, let me know. I'll play Halo with you.
From start to finish.
I'll cheat on Swinny, my gaming husband. Who's, I want to divorce him because he's
deserve it.
Never putting out.
So it's just a bad year for
I'll be your
co-op.
bitch.
It's a bad year for co-op Swinny this year.
Yeah, you're terrible with.
Just ask Mike and Joe Giles with the Ascent.
Yeah.
It's
the Ascent. He like we keep asking him to do. He's like, yeah, I'll play. I reckon you played for like, how long did you play for that time?
I played for 40 minutes, but I was cracking the shit the whole
40
time.
minutes,
so-
40 minutes, and the whole time he's like, I don't like this. It's very shit,
Hey, you've changed your tone. I actually apologized for that in the show. You're like, that's okay, brother. Now you give me shit about it.
No, I'm kidding. I give you shit about it, but
Doing it
it's
for
a
the show.
joke.
It's fun.
Anyway,
I
can I
don't
just
care if you don't enjoy the game. You don't enjoy the game.
Can I just
That's
mention
fine.
I would actually love to play this game. Unfortunately, there's just so many things that I'm trying to play at the moment, and it just feels like completely like just going to screw me up if I actually start another new game. Like we've not only got like I've got my game resolutions I want to finish up, but we've also got things that for the show and everything, and it's like the Santa Claus thing. It was like a 1 hour thing. I knew it was going to be short anyway, but. So I do want to play this. It sounds great.
Adds up.
When co-op comes out.
Yeah, co-op. Not that you'll play.
And it would so benefit from co-op. It really would. I actually don't get why there's no co-op in it. They obviously ran out of time or something.
They ran out of time.
It's because, like I said, you can tell certain things are structured for co-op.
Well, Halo is a very co-op centric.
Yeah.
It always kind of has had that element to it.
That's weird.
Let me know. I'll play Master Chief
Anyway.
Collection. Anyone else out there? I want to dump these guys and start a new podcast with people who play games with me.
Go find new friends.
Nah, that sounds too much.
With
too much work.
blackjack and hookers.
All right. Well, it's a big thumbs up from you and a moderate thumbs up for me. But the multiplayer is awesome. So overall, huge thumbs up for Halo Infinite for me. I think you would love the multiplayer, by the way.
I
Like,
would.
I think you
That's
would
what I'm afraid
love
of.
it.
I would, and I'm afraid of that. So
It's
I don't
way
touch
better
it.
than the campaign.
I would also love cocaine. I would also love heroin. But
You'd love
I just-
heroin, Jesus.
Probably,
That took
but
a
I just
turn.
decided not to have it. So
Wow.
How's that
was
for a show title?
That
I
went from
would love
0
heroin.
to 10 very quickly.
All right, well, let's wrap up the show. So next week, Swinny, you may review a certain DLC.
Yeah,
true?
so Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. I put 2 typos in the run sheet for that in a row.
Yeah, that's why I'm
the
not saying
Fate
it.
Sworn,
Rekong.
yeah, Re-Reckong. The Fate Sworn DLC is finally coming out on the 14th. Now, this when they originally released Re-Reckoning, it was very buggy on the first couple of days. It didn't literally. They forgot to enable the achievements like the first day. Like that's how bad it was.
Wow.
So I'm gonna wait a little bit. So depending on how the state that it releases will determine whether or not I review this game next week.
Oh,
Okay, fair enough.
Because it's coming
Hopefully I
out
will.
Thursday, Friday?
On the 14th, so whatever that is.
Oh, okay, so
That's
that's
in
like
2
Tuesday,
days. It's
Wednesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it anyway.
Depending,
So
yeah.
that will determine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get this game on Switch, but I'm hearing kind
I
of
don't
really
think
mixed
it'd run
stuff
well
on
on
Switch.
I don't know about the Switch version, honestly.
Yeah, the Switch version's meant to be kind of buggy, and they just haven't really.
Yeah, I honestly,
shame.
if anyone would ask me, I wouldn't recommend the Switch version.
Oh wait,
myself.
what am I saying? It was free on PlayStation Plus. I have a copy
What?
of it.
Oh,
from
yeah,
there.
yeah, that's right. I got it on
Yeah, like
PS
2
Plus
weeks
as
ago or
well.
something.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
just played on that.
Make the base game free on PS Plus and then have the
Right
DLC.
before the
That-
DLC.
Business,
Brilliant.
baby, business.
It's already a massive game.
But
anyway.
I was gonna say it sounds. I think it's already a massive game, so the DLC can wait.
All right, well, that wraps up the show. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Catch you later.